Chapter 1. The most immersive VR. Ever since the first virtual reality games appeared on the gaming scene, the full-dive virtual reality became technology's next target. And in 2020, it finally happened. Every gamer dreamed of this moment for a bloody long time. The FDVR gaming sets and software started flooding the market after a massive advertising campaign throughout the world. FDVR technology allows a person's consciousness to transfer into the game world. Millions of gaming fans, scratch that, millions of gaming fanatics, invaded the stores that sell the console of their dreams. I've seen people fighting each other over their turns in the lines. They mostly got carried away by the dream of gaming with such an advanced piece of tech. What a bother. As an old gamer who spent many years playing RPGs, I also decided that I need to take this to the extreme and awaken my old gaming ghost from his slumber. I'll play that game once again, the game that was released in my years of high school and stole most of my time and money, The Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim. One may wonder, that's an offline single-player game. Am I going all this way to this store and standing in this damnable heat under the burning summer sun of Egypt just to buy a single FDVR headset for an offline single-player game? Hell yes, I am. And before you start judging, I just want to say that I suck at MMOs. Seriously, too many idiots gathered in one place, trying to do the same boring quests over and over again between PvE and PvP to all this madness. I just can't stand it. To me, they are not enjoyable at all, and most of them lack the good story that makes the player fall in love with the game and its lore, to research the realism and immersion, and to discuss the game world online and build theories about it. That's how I enjoy the game. And also as a personal reason when it comes to MMOs, I don't have any special skills or anything to stand out or make friends. I am your average gamer who plays just for fun. By the way, I am a lawyer, and I work my ass in a law firm that consumes me as a slave laborer. Sigh. Go to law school, they said. Be a public prosecutor and hoard money, they said. Damn it to hell. All I want to do now is just to relax and play Skyrim. What a pain. Skyrim has been published for years, and it seems that Bethesda, the game company, barely graced us with a teaser trailer for the 6th part of the franchise. This was written in 2018, if by any chance TS 6 was released before 2020, then it will get edited. Seriously now, Ubisoft, another company, is publishing an Assassin's Creed game every year, while Skyrim is surviving all this long because of its freedom and depth, but more importantly, it is thanks to the outstanding efforts that was put into the mods by the modders, as well as some official side projects like Skyrim Special Edition and Skyrim Virtual Reality. They also published Skyrim Full Dive Virtual Reality. It's the reason why I am standing here after all. Speaking of the mods, the term stands for modifications. They are DLC-like content that overhauls the gameplay or expands the world. Modders usually upload their mods free or with a charge on the internet. Forget the game company's mods, they stink, and you have to pay for them. What kind of weird fetish is that? Basically, we Skyrim players download our mods mainly from Nexus Mods, where Skyrim has more than 57,000 mods last time I checked 2 years ago. And if that is not enough for you, then what else is? The mods are the pride and joy of us Skyrim players. They are basically about anything and everything, from weapons and magic mods to remodeling game mechanics mods, to graphics replacing mods. There are even adult content mods. Anyway, everyone and their mothers can find whatever mods they fancy. I am a graphics fanatic, so I go mostly with 200+ mods in a gameplay that are mostly all about changing how the Skyrim world looks like. What a time to be alive. I can make good old Skyrim into some Korean MMO if I wanted to, but there is an unwritten rule when it comes to modding Skyrim. It is before looks comes immersion. That is what our Lord and Savior, the immersive Lord MXR, taught us. Enough about me remembering all that basic knowledge now. This damn line of people is barely advancing and my turn is coming nearer and nearer. Let's just stop raising flags for now. Also, when one should spray in this goddamn heat, it's suffocating. After a long struggle, and thank God that the shop has an air conditioner, I bought the gaming set of my dreams. I almost fainted from happiness, but my financial status can't allow me to ruin this suit now. I know should have gone home and changed before I come here, but the line was not that crowded yet, so I took the chance. Now, I am ready to hit the road home. I also should stop thinking about playing so much. That can be considered raising a flag too. While thinking about it, I was walking and about to cross the narrow street. That's when I heard a very unpleasant and uncalled for the sound of tires screeching against the road. My mind worked rapidly as I knew what is about to happen. The legendary Truckkuin is trying to reap my soul. The sound of tires screeching drew nearer and nearer in a split of a second, and I was about to get pulverized when it reaches me. But at the very last moment, I put all of my strength in my legs and leaped for it to the side of the road while not neglecting the duty of safekeeping the FDVR set I just bought. Thankfully, I managed to avoid the crisis by a hair's width. I also was keeping my guard up from any possible vase to crash into my head from the building next to me too. Phew, a trip to another world, perfectly avoided, I said while making a sigh of relief. No reincarnation for me today. I took a look at the source of the noise, and to my disappointment, it was not anything scary. It was just a tuk-tuk. What is a tuk-tuk, you ask? Well, it's what you call an auto rickshaw, which is very popular in India. The tri-wheels motorbike that pulls a carriage. We have that in Egypt too. While I was looking with disappointment at the tuk-tuk, the driver hurriedly got out and apologized to me. The onlookers were giving him some cold gazes. This guy was rushing in a narrow street. After all, most tuk-tuk drivers are unlicensed and reckless anyway. Thinking about it, I came to the conclusion. The best way to avoid getting hit by a tuk-tuk is to be the tuk-tuk itself. I smiled at the driver and said it's all right with a friendly face. As long as he reflects on his actions, there was no need to scold him. Or maybe because I was in a hurry to play the game and didn't have time to argue about it. I asked him for a ride home just to get this problem over. Everything went smoothly after that as the tuk-tuk stopped under my apartment. I took out 10 Egyptian pound note, but the driver strongly refused and asked me to consider the ride as an apology. Wow, what a nice guy. Seriously, you might not know this, but tuk-tuk drivers are mostly thugs around these parts. When the guy noticed my amazement, he puts on a smile and mentioned that he is a science school graduate, but just like most of his kind in this sorry excuse of a system, he couldn't find a job that suits his diploma, and due to his need of money, he does some small jobs here and there. This is not something strange, and I can relate to him. I am a law school graduate and not too much better than him. Lawyers' careers here have more downs than UPS. Also, we are not sexually attractive, so we don't live long anyway. The tuk-tuk driver and I got into a who is more unlucky competition and started to lament on the past. As people who shared some tragedies, we found each other's best friends before we even know it. After the short conversation, we exchanged phone numbers and said our farewells, each on his way. I head to the pavement while saying salam, hey, to the butcher's son in their shop next to the building entrance. Proceeding through the entrance, I smelled the stink of a cat. It is probably the cat that always sneaks into the entrance and made it its lair. Well, whatever Her Highness wants. I am a cat person myself, and it's not like the stink will kill me or anything. I mean, we have a butcher next door, so the smell is already ruined. I tried to interact with the cat, but I got splendidly ignored. The cat scratches her neck with her rear leg with flexibility and walks away. I normally get ignored if I don't give her something to eat. Sigh. This cat. What an adorable tsundra. Forget that now. To the elevator, or what I call the hell lift, as it resembles a narrow coffin with the length of a meter and the width of a half. I pressed the most unlucky number in the world, 13. Chapter 2. LINKU Start. As I entered my apartment, I saw my roommates lazing around doing a 0-0. Why am I not surprised? Other than the holy sanctum, my room. This apartment needs to be cleansed by the pure fires and flames. What a mess. Let's forget that for now because it is introduction time. Ehem. From the room that has a balcony and yet no view to the sea, weighing over 120 kgs, he is an accountant in some big company's warehouse. I introduce to you, Fatty. And on the opposite couch sits the one who resides in the dark room next to the kitchen, weighing less than 80 kgs. He is a 6th-year medical school student. I introduce to you, Four Eyes. Those are my roomies and friends from ages. If one just can ignore the amount of laziness that can radiate just by their existing around. Fatty is an accountant, so he's not much better off than me, and Four Eyes is still a student. It meant that the three of us is in a critical financial state. Still, since we are all of the same age, we tend to be on friendly terms, unless when it comes to our anime's favorite genres. From what I know, they are greater perverts than I am. Fatty is a lolicon to the core, and shitty Four Eyes is even weirder. He sometimes brings bones back home saying he is going to study them. Study my ass. These are someone's bones, you bastard. If I didn't know what necrophilia is, I would have thought he was attempting some sort of necromantic rituals. Although these guys have their flaws, they too have been through complications that lead them here. While saying what's up to the crew, they noticed the FDVR set in my hands and their eyes lit up. I told them beforehand that I was going to buy it, but they thought that the sets will sell out before I even get to the store. Now that I have the device in my very hands, without any dignity or honor, they immediately offered their respect while cupping their hands as if we are in some Chinese novel and also decided to call me boss. All that if I agreed to grace them with trying out the FDVR set. The amount of shamelessness that dwells within them is quite admirable. Well, these guys are my friends, so I am not really against it. Anyway, there is something more important right now. Comrade Four Eyes, is it done? Yes, boss. Preparations are complete. We are ready for the launch. Good man. Comrade Fatty, I hope you don't fail me this time once again. Sorry, boss. So you did fail me. I will go right away, boss. He took his keys and ran to the door. Bring some coffee on the way back. Understood, boss. Sigh. And he goes to his task. Anyway, the complete preparations meant something very important, so I headed to my PC and checked the download tasks. Hehehe. Here it is. Bethesda's newest release is 100% completely downloaded. Skyrim FDVR. Hail, boss. At ease, Comrade Four Eyes. We still have more work to do? Yes. The work is still far from over. Why? One may wonder. Pretty simple. I am not playing this game with no mods. My precious immensely immersive immersion mods. I can pretty much guess how the game will look like without them, and I don't want to see those scary original game meshes, faces, and textures in my FDVR experience. That is why I'll have to take care of that with lots and lots mods. My next task is simple. First, I'll visit the Nexus Mods website and download all the goodies that I don't have right now. I have pretty much all the essential and the famous mods, but since the FDVR technology has very high capabilities and uses the brain as the area of operation instead of the computer's CPU, I can operate more mods than usual without worrying about crashing the game. After all, the human brain has the capability and capacity to process the data subconsciously faster than any computer. The second task I have to do is to clean all the dirty plugins, install the animations, and sort the mods load order. This is a basic routine for Skyrim players, as we can't just leave anything to crash on our heads. In other words, it's going to get busy, so I guess I'll have to take my time. I can't really recall my entire mod list, but there are some particular ones that can't be easily missed. A mod like Skyrim HD is a must. Sky UI for modding the game menus, and also a mod that one can't simply play the game without it. Immersive armors and immersive weapons for various weapons and armors. A body enhancer such as CBB or UNP. Static meshes and improvements for making everything more detailed. Enhanced lighting and FX for interior lights and climates of Tamriel of exterior lights. Skyrim flora overhaul for the sake of natural beauty. And these are just some of the mods. There are around 500 mods in my arsenal by now, mostly for the sake of realism and immersion. Other than immersion, I also seek the gameplay mods. My gameplay mods are not that complicated because I am a classic player, so my gaming style is not about using all what the game has to offer. Rather, I play as a certain class, even though I have the ability to play with every option there is. The major classes in Skyrim are the warrior, the mage, and the thief. The skills in Skyrim are a total of 18 skills. 3 classes and 18 skills may seem rather few for an RPG, but that isn't really the case here. The game offers a high amount of freedom in choosing whatever skill you want, so players can create their own classes. Simplicity itself. One can make a mix between these skills that can be called a build, such as the Spellblade, which allows the player to use both magic and melee weapons. This, however, will force the player to give up the left hand for spell casting and devote the right hand to use a melee weapon. In other words, the player won't be able to use the blocking moves. This was just an example. Back to the skills. The skills are divided under their respective class. Warrior skills are two-hand weapons, one-hand weapons, archery, blocking, heavy armor, and smithing. Mage skills are alteration, conjuration, destruction, enchanting, illusion, and restoration. Thief skills are alchemy, light armor, speech, sneak, pickpocket, and lockpicking. Each skill has its perk tree that offer perks, a passive skill that can be unlocked with perk points. One can gain a single perk point per level, and the only way to level up is to use the skills. Once a skill rose to a certain point, it will give the player a skill advancement, and once the players have a certain amount of skill advancements, they will level up. A skill has 100 levels cap, which is rather inconvenient. So there comes a great mod called Skyrim Community Uncapper, which removes this inconvenience. Back to the classes, mixing some skills can make what is called builds, as mentioned before. Other great examples are paladins, assassins, warlocks, and more. Paladins use one-handed, heavy armor and restoration to give players more of a holy-type experience. Assassins use archery, sneak, and one-handed to kill their targets from a distance, or up close and personal. Warlocks use conjuration and illusion to command their armies and summon creatures to help them. Here comes another inconvenience. The necromancers, summoners, are a bit weak due to the limit on summoning and raising the dead, which is restricted to only one creature, and until the players reach the level 100 in conjuration, they can raise and summon two creatures. It's one of the game flaws, in my opinion, so using a mod like Multiple Summons by Kangwilla can easily fix that problem in a very immersive way that doesn't break the game. Unlike the other multiple summoning mods, it increases the number of summons relying on its skill rank. The mage skills have 5 ranks, so its max number is 6 summons. Pure mages are the masters of destruction, so adding a mod like Apocalypse that adds 155 spells to the game that are totally balanced, lore-friendly, and immersive. Balanced Magic is a mod that makes magic more powerful as the skills level goes up, as well as some other features. Thieves can be assassins and hunters, but some players add illusion magic to the mix and make some sort of Nightblade build. After recalling all that, I noticed something interesting on the Nexus homepage. A new mod that was released just yesterday. It's a quest mod called Origins of the Lost. And the description of the mod is very interesting. It adds a backstory to the character depending on its race. It has 3 backstories for the human, the elf, and the beast races. I just saw it on the front page in Nexus and really got amazed by it. There are mods that tried to do something like that in the past, but this mod has quests and voice acting, so it will be a top quest mod for sure. I definitely have to add it and try it out. All in all, that's what Skyrim is all about. Mixing mods, perks, and skills made this game is so much fun and never gets old. I mean, look at it. It's 2020 already, and the game is officially 10 years old. Still, it's as lively and popular as ever. Away from the Nexus, there are some mods that come from Lover's Lab. These are the plus 18 mods that everyone know and love. Amorous Adventures and SOS, as well as OSA and OSEX. One can guess pretty much what are these mods about. I don't have weird fetishes, so no more than that. While looking at my mod list, or what I would rather call mod arsenal, with satisfaction, the loading was pretty much at its end. All what is left is using the tools to install the animation, sort the load order, and clean the dirty plugins. Looking at the window, I found that it was already sunset. I went up to answer the call of nature. Looking at the time, it's around 6 p.m. and Fatty hasn't returned yet. His task was to buy us some fancy dinner. Today we are celebrating, of course, so some pizza or kushari won't do our financial situation any harm. While thinking about that, I went to the balcony to watch the setting sun and the pink to orange horizon. Smelling the sea breeze from the 13th floor is a blessing no matter how you say about the neighborhood. Alexandria is always this nice in summer, and the scenery of Castle Kate Bay with the sea is charming as ever. Now, it's not the time to get sentimental. Looking back at the screen, everything is already done. Yep, let's connect the VR device. I read the instruction from the manual, and it was surprisingly easy. There is a device that connects the headset to the PC and it has a few buttons and lights. Following the guide, I went through all the steps without any issues. Ready for it. LINKU STARTU. Chapter 3. The Infinite Loading Screen. I sat on the in front of my PC and relaxed my body, then tilted the chair backward. Now that I look at it, the FDVR headset looks like the nerve gear from a certain anime. I felt the smoothness of its design and the softness of the padding inside. It's really a masterpiece, even though this is a commercial-grade product. Whoever produced this piece of tech has my utmost respect. I put the FDVR headset on and looked at it through my phone's front camera. Handsome as always, me, I thought to myself as I took a selfie. I put the phone away and closed my eyes, then shouted, "LINKU STARTU," in excitement. As expected, nothing happened. Well, the only thing that happened was 4 eyes who retorted at me with the word idiot from outside. So you have shown your true color, comrade 4 eyes. Also, I am not an idiot. You are the idiot. Your whole family are idiots. 7 generations of your ancestors are idiots. Humph. How about that, you necrophiliac bastard? To tell the truth, I just couldn't hold back myself as my soul is that of a true fanboy. That is to say, I don't think I am the only one that has done that, though. Plenty of other idiots roam the under the same heaven too. Back to the FDVR headset, there are a few precautions one must take note of mentioned in the manual. Things like maintaining a safe body posture while being in the game, not forcefully plug off the headset from someone's head even though the device is safe and there is no harm. It might have some hangover effects. It is also noted to not use the device for more than 6 hours a day, and any more than that will cause the FDVR headset to forcefully log you out. How very thoughtful. This device is amazing no matter how you think about it. After following the instructions, checking and double-checking everything, I readied myself and took a deep breath, then laid down on the bed next to my desktop, stretched my legs in a comfortable way, turned my head in a steady position, and looked at the ceiling. Couldn't help but grin while pressing the button on the headset. I closed my eyes and the metallic voice of a countdown started. As the countdown reached 0, my mind sank into the darkness. What I saw in front of my eyes was a wondrous space all in black. Looking around didn't really tell me where is left or where is right. Out of nowhere, a thick white text popped into my face. Bethesda Studios. This was scary. Next time, I'll add that mod that removes that scarecrow that the company planted here. After that, some white smoke came from surroundings, drawing near and nearer, blending in the space. Strangely, I am breathing, but no type of scent comes to my nose. I became aware of how does it feel when someone loses their sense of smell. I thought I would smell the smoke, but I smelled nothing at all. It's a very weird and uncomfortable sensation, having to breathe like you are not breathing. It proved many things about the real-world smell to me. What an eye-opener. Also, I noticed that the rest of the senses are pretty much weaker than usual too. That was expected. Actually, I heard on the TV that it's natural, due to the difference between the amounts of information between the digital realm and the real realm. But still, having to experience this myself is quite the feat. I checked my surroundings once again, and I saw a very familiar scenery of a dragon emblem made of metal that has few cracks. The dragon is the Imperial Dragon, the symbol of the Empire from the game. Beneath the dragon on right was a smaller symbol of the game company, and on the right of the dragon appear to be a few words materializing midair. They are as followed. New, load, credit, quit. Everything seems to be in place. I tried to select the new select option, only to notice that I have no hand. The hell? So it was like this. If I remember correctly, I have to use my mentality to move the marker between choices. So let's give it a try now. Actually, it's a piece of cake. Me moving around the dark space a while ago was done using my mentality too. So that's how things work. Switching between the options for practice, I choose New and confirm for the confirmation message. From this point, things should go smoothly, but a message box appeared. Looking at the box, I realized it was not something from the game. Then it got to be a mod. Thanks for choosing our mod, Origins of the Lost. This mod will take your primary character information before you start. You can choose appearance later in the gameplay. Continue dash. Oh, it was that mod. I forgot to read how it works and immersed myself in the overall details. Silly me. Still, for it to work like that. Impressive. There is only one choice anyway, so let's be done with it. First, it asked about the race. Races in Skyrim are categorized into 10 different races, but they are basically humans, elves, and beasts. The humans are Nords, Imperials, Redguards, and Bretons. Nords are Skyrim natives, strong, proud, and beautiful people. They mostly reassemble the Vikings. Imperials come from the Cyrodiilic Empire. They are good in both magic and combat. They reassemble the Roman. Redguards are the natives of Hammerfell, who are natural warriors, and they resemble both Arabs and Africans. Bretons are the natives of High Rock, who has elven ancestry and like elves strong in magic. They are a bit shorter than most humans, but they are the closest race to Europeans. Elves are High Elves, Dark Elves, Wood Elves, and Orcs. High Elves are from Somerset Isle, and they are naturally gifted in the arcane arts. Tall, long-living, and arrogant folk with a bit of golden skin and pointy ears. Wood Elves are from Valenwood. They're known for their excellent talent in marksmanship and taming animals. They are the closest to your typical elves from the movies, and they are much better in manners. Dark Elves are from Morrowind east to Skyrim. They are strong battle mages. They are not as haughty as the High Elves, but their nobles are a true pain in the ass. Orcs, who are counted as elves, are a cursed race of elves. They are gifted in battle and smithing. They have the same looks as Warcraft orcs, but in a human size and a bit darker skin. Argonians and Khajiit are categorized under beast. Argonians are the lizard men with human figures. Khajiit are people with heads and fur of cats. Both races are good at stealth. With that knowledge in mind, I choose the human section and then Nord. They might not seem attractive to a first-time player, but Nords are all good. They have 50% frost resistance and combat talent bonus. Also, they are good-looking, tall, and fair-haired folk. More than that, they are the natives of Skyrim. I would normally not worry about racial buffs or abilities because with a high-level enchanting and gear, all of that is meaningless. After selecting the race, another box popped up asking for the gender and the name. I normally play as a male, but I had no name in mind. Maybe the name Jon would do for now. I use it a lot since I started watching Game of Thrones anyway. I used my mind to enter the name, and it was magically, or mentally, formed. A piece of cake. After finishing all that and choosing confirm, the screen changed and all items on it disappeared. Then another scene from the game came up. This was the typical first-time Skyrim loading screen. It was a black dragon with fiendish appearance. It has a spiky black scales, 2 rear legs, and 2 spread-out wings. It also posed into a roaring position and looked scary ferocious. The dragon was standing on a half-circular word wall, and that wall was full of runes of the dragon language from the inside. The dragon itself looked scary and sinister. This is one of the loading screens that shows up every time the players start their gameplay. There was also some game facts and hints on the bottom right side of the dragon. It's usually some lore and gameplay-related stuff. First fact or tip was, and the scrolls have foretold of black wings in the cold, that when brothers wage war come unfurled. Alduin, Bane of Kings, ancient shadow unbound, with a hunger to swallow the world. Song of the Dragonborn. Then, when a dragon uses a breath attack like fire or frost, it is speaking in an ancient and powerful language. A battle between 2 dragons is actually a deadly verbal debate. Yeon. Tiber Septim brought peace to Tamriel in 2E896 by conquering all of the known world. Thus began the Third Era. Yes, thank you. Nord belief holds that the honored dead live forever in Sovngarde. It's taking a bit too long. Tip after tip, fact after fact, it took longer than expected. Is it Skyrim's most infamous infinite loading screen? Come on. Something is not right. It's almost an hour and the loading is not done yet. Didn't they say the headset will make the performance much better? The hell is going on? Okay, this is serious. I can't do anything in the loading screen, and there are little to no methods to sort this kind of situation. Emergency logout. Nothing. Force quit. Also nothing. Task Manager. Restart program. I suddenly realized that I am not aware of the track of time anymore. This has taken too long. I am feeling some pain in my head. What the fuck is going on? Seriously, what the hell is this all about? Did I perhaps put my head in an uncomfortable position? I can't even seem to force myself out. I don't want to spend 6 hours like this. Is it because of the number of mods I added? I do admit that 500 mods are quite the amount, but I thought it was fine. After a long while, the loading screen blacked and nothing appeared on it anymore. Even its music has faded away. All that is left was blackness. Just blackness. It has been loading for an hour. I am starting to feel sick of seeing the color black. I feel dizzy. I feel like a stone in water. I feel tired and sleepy too. This is bad. Why do I feel sleepy while actually sleeping in a FDVR set? This doesn't make any sense. I can't hold on much longer. I hope the headset forcefully pull me back out. Please. Chapter 4. A Warrior, a Knight and a Thief. The sound of galloping drifted between the trees, breaking the silence of night. 2 moons lit the sky as the howls of wolves echoed. Normally, no one would ride in such a way, yet the riders seemed to be left with little choice. They seemed to be in a hurry, but all of a sudden, they came to a halt. One of the riders, clad in armor and was armed with an unusual blade. He jumped from his horse and began his search for something. Finally, he fixed his gaze on some stone formation that were put together in an unusual shape. It's clearly someone's doing. He moved the rubble to find a stone with some carving on its base. Lady Hilda, we found a mark, just a little bit to the east. The man shares his discovery to the other rider, a woman with a large hood. She moves her gaze to the man and nodded. Then let's hurry, Brother Fulthame. We don't have much time before sunrise. She spoke with a voice which is young, yet dignified and noble. The man called Fulthame nodded his head and jumped back on his horse. He wore a grim expression, yet he never showed it to the lady. After a little while, they arrived to a big lake. Searching the area, they found another stone formation. Fulthame rode to it, then turned towards Lady Hilda. He nodded to her to confirm that this is the place they were after. Hilda rode nearer to the stone formation and took out something from her saddle's bag. It was a money purse made of a golden fabric. Then she threw it in the middle of the stone formation. Just before it hits the ground, something happened, and it started to float in midair. Then it disappeared. Fulthame, who was already in high alert, griped the hilt of his sword in preparation. Suddenly, a hoarse voice came from behind, and Fulthame turned hurriedly and unsheathed his sword. But then Hilda rose her hand to signal Fulthame to stop, barely moving her blue eyes. She had anticipated this meeting, thus she was not in full alert. Who calls for the guild? A man in a black leather outfit and a hood comes from the shadow holding no weapon. His presence, however, is that of a shadow, mysterious but yet capable of anything. Hilda took off her hood, revealing her appearance. Under the light of the moons, her beauty had captivated the atmosphere. Her crimson hair fluttered with the wind. Her eyes were deep and blue as the ocean, and the freckles dotted across her face. Her height was quite admirable, giving off the feeling of nobility and honor. It has been a while, Delvin. Her voice had a Nordic accent. The man in shadow, now revealed as Delvin, widened his eyes in amazement at her refined beauty. He sighed, then he looks to the stone formation. Tanilia, go back first. Delvin issued his command to his subordinate. A few moments later, steps can be heard heading away. Fulthame immediately turned towards Hilda in a questioning gaze, not understanding why would they converse with the scum from Thieves' Guild in the first place. Thieves? Lady Hilda, what is going on? Hilda ignored Fulthame's question and looked at Delvin. Delvin stared back, looking into the depths of her eyes. If he had to describe them, he would say that it is impossible to not drown yourself in them. And thus, he was the first to avert eye contact. After a deep sigh, he looked at her again. I heard the news that Hammerfell is signing a treaty with the Aldmeri Dominion a year ago. I thought you would come right away. Delvin questioned with a sad expression. I was delayed, and it was better to take a detour through the Empire. Hilda replied with a soft voice. I thought you couldn't make it. Anyways, back to the usual. How can I serve Lady Firemaid? Although Delvin showed his concern, he knew that Hilda did not come to converse, but to talk business. Thus his attitude had switched back to fit the business persona. We need a passage into Rift Inn. Her request was clear and precise, but yet Delvin turned his head side to side. You can't. It's crawling with Thalmor agents. But the Jarl. No matter how sympathetic the Jarl is towards Ulfric, with a large sum of gold, she can be bought. In Dagon's name, even her steward is a high elf. Can't we go through the fishery? Or there any other secret way to the Ratway? Answer's no. Only the guild members have an understanding with the guards. I'll pay whatever. Listen, whatever you offer, the Thalmor offered twice the bribes. Usually, I would help you guys out, but the guild has been through some bad luck recently. We have been at setbacks many times. I can't afford any to damage the guild. It's bad for business and bad overall. I'm sorry, truly. After Delvin gave his explanation, Hilda nodded in understanding. Still, the uneasiness in her heart made her face crumble. You can still smuggle back something small, right? She asked. The look in her eyes, the tone of her voice, the seriousness of her expressions made the cold weather of Skyrim even colder. Yeah, Delvin replied. Hilda's expression eased down when Delvin agreed to her request. She moved her arms, pushing the black heavy cloak covering her body. When she revealed the infant in her hands, Delvin gasped in surprise and gave a wry smile. So that's why you were delayed. Hilda got down from her horse slowly and approached Delvin. Fultame, who had his right hand away from his blade a while ago, jumped from his horse and followed after Hilda. Seeing her approach Delvin, he unconsciously held the scabbard with his left hand and, narrowing his eyes, glaring daggers at Delvin. This is my son, Jon Hild. Hilda spoke with resolute. Nobody noticed her throat getting a bit shrugged. Take him with you. Please. What? Delvin and Fultame cried in unison, as Delvin's shock betrayed his expression and became clear on his face. Fultame, on the other hand, as he was walking to Hilda's side, misstepped and was about fall. What are you saying, Lady Hilda? That's unthinkable. That's the commander's and your son, and you entrust him to a thief? Fultame was at his wit's end, as he couldn't keep up anymore. Hilda, on the other hand, had a stiff look on her face. Why? Delvin was bewildered. Why would this woman ask him such a thing? He's a thief, a criminal, part of the Ratway scum. Yet, he was being entrusted with what most people would protect the most. I don't have enough supplies to feed him anymore. I can't go into Rift Inn, but you can. Rift Inn has an orphanage. Make sure he is taken care of. Keep an eye on him until I come back for him. Hilda's words were heavy on her heart, yet she found the courage to say them. Delvin was silent. As a professional thief, he had to make rapid decisions in situations like this one. Fultame was grumbling in a heavy mood while looking down. His commander's wife was handing over her son to a thief, but yet he couldn't say a word. Why? Because the moment Hilda said that she could not provide the infant anymore, he understood that it was for the best that the infant must be given to someone as capable, although he is a thief, to ensure the baby's survival. Fultame could not protect the child. He was unable to. If they go with the child, his fate is either death from hunger or death under a Thalmor blade. It was just too bitter. Fultame hated the Great War. He hated the Thalmor. He hated the empire that betrayed them. His hatred was to the point of murder. He just wanted to kill them like he did 6 years ago in the Battle of Red Ring, where he killed 100 elves in a single raid. While Fultame was in his dire state of mind, Delvin's voice sounded as firm as Hilda's. If it's for the sake of Lord Jonrad's son, then it's finally my time to pay the old debt. I'll never fail, even if it costs me my hide. He took the child from the lady and looked at the boy. He was a bit similar to his mother, same eye color, but his hair was auburn, darker than hers. His pale skin was a Nord feature, and even in this cold, the boy was sleeping peacefully. Delvin, who was a Breton, was shivering while this child was taking it easy. Nords, he sighed in his mind while looking back to Hilda, whose emotions betrayed her, and looked at her son with sad expressions. She turned her back suddenly, startling Delvin. When she gets to her horse, she took a huge battle axe and a fur knapsack. Then she took out a journal and handed it to Delvin. This is my note. Give it to him when he is strong enough. I want him to be strong for the fight ahead. Never teach him of his ancestry or the name Firemane. His name will be only Jon and make up a solid story, you understand?
Yes.
Delvin nodded. Hilda turned, but then she turned her head saying, "And you know the price of failing me?" Delvin gulped his saliva before nodding with a meek expression. "Let's go, brother Fultame." Hilda jumped nimbly on her horse. Following her, Fultame rode his horse and galloped behind her. Leaving Delvin alone with the child in his arms, he was so bewildered at how this meeting ended. "Stay safe, my lady," he whispered and went back into darkness. Riding on the travelers' road, Hilda and Fultame were slowing down their horses. "So, they finally caught us." Hilda shows a wild grin, that of a beast. "Let's see how much will you bring down this time, old man," she said as she waved her battle axe. "Let's not," Fultame said. He took her horse's reins and looked at her. "Don't die today, Lady Hilda. I'll take the horses and ride opposite to Rift Inn. You run south, then few days later head north to Windhelm." "What are you saying?" Hilda wanted to refute, but she was interrupted. "Let's meet at Windhelm. Fultame has already made his mind." Hilda's expressions changed to that of a sad look. Then she smiled and nodded to the man. Like the wind, she took her battle axe and knapsack, disappearing south into the forest. Fultame smiled, turned the horses, and his killing intent filled the air. "Now it's you and me, you filthy elves." Chapter has been edited by Josue 561. Chapter 5. Why is it leaking? The night in Rift Inn carries many dangers, as ruffians and degenerates roamed the alleys. On the surface, it was a quiet and calm city. But thieves lurked in the darkness. Meanwhile, the guards snooze in their posts. Near to Mistvale Keep, the castle where the Jarl lives, there was a two-story wooden building, commonly known as Honor Hall Orphanage. A figure emerged out of the darkness, barely seen due to the lantern on the front door. Delvin was about to knock on the door, but then he stopped, hesitating for a second. This was an orphanage after all, so it was not that common for him to come near this place. And also there is another problem. To register a child in the orphanage, one needs to meet with the headmistress. The headmistress was someone very familiar with Delvin, and she also was a Dunmare, dark elf, called Nerina. Nerina was a very beautiful woman with gray skin and crimson eyes. Dunmares are not a strange sight to see in Rift Inn. After all, their home Morrowind was on the eastern borders of Rift Inn. The Red Mountain erupted in the 5th year of the 4th era, 4 times, 10 to the power of -5, leaving many Dunmers with little choice but to find refuge in Skyrim or other parts of Tamriel. 4E stands for 4th era, 5 is year 5. Delvin knocked on the door, expecting to see the beautiful dark elf greeting him. Footsteps could be heard from the other side, and the wooden door opened slowly. Delvin, who gave his back to the door, turned around with a friendly face, only to have his expressions turn sour. "Right, I forgot about this old hag." The one who opened the door was Nerina's assistant, Grelid, an unfriendly woman who glares at everything and everyone. Even the stones on the roadside has their share of her glares. Her nickname, Grelid the Kind, is quite ironic, since she treats the children with severe discipline and punishments if they disobey her orders. Who in Oblivion is dropping off another brat at this hour? I am Mallory? Although surprised by the unusual visit, Grelid was looking at the figure in front of her with scorn and more hostility than her usual glares. "Where is the headmistress?" Delvin asked with discomfort. He rather not let her lay a finger on the infant he was carrying. "What is your business with the headmistress?" Grelid insisted to ask. It was a surprise that Grelid had not attempted to call the guards, unlike any other sane person would do if they encountered a professional thief. Perhaps she thought her nasty attitude and that glare of hers would suffice in dealing with thugs like Delvin. Unfortunately for her, Delvin is one of the guild masters for a reason. Even though he is a thief, he had the aura of a killer. His eyes turned cold, and he moved his left hand to his back. A second later, Grelid could hear a dagger being unsheathed. I don't have time to deal with a Hagraven right now. Stand aside, and let me speak with the headmistress, or else I might have to start an extermination. Intimidation is one of the most powerful instruments that thief can have on his or her arsenal. With a rough, fearless tone and enough willpower, even merchants would yield to it. She hurriedly took a step back, sucking her teeth in utter defeat. Of course, she could have called the guards, and then Delvin had to make a run for it, but it would ruin her reputation. Although his intimidation wasn't completely effective, it had done its job. She would rather let him do whatever he pleased, as long as it doesn't affect her or the children, strangely enough, than to be a laughing stock for the rest of her days. She nodded and closed the door. A minute later, the door was opened again. This time, another woman appeared. She was so beautiful that she could steal the moonlight with her radiance. She had pointy long ears and dark violet lips. Her nose was thin and very fitting for her face. Her body was slim, and the size of her breasts and the curves of her waist were impressive. What stood out the most, however, was her crimson, beautiful eyes and her arched brows. Delvin barely held himself from changing his expressions. She was a woman that could ruin a nation. No wonder Grelid is a feisty old bitch. Many children would rather have this fine beauty take care of them, rather than a hag, he mentally noted. The woman looked at Delvin with a friendly smile. What brings you in this hour, Mr. Mallory? A favor. I came for a favor. Not for the guild, but for me. Foo-foo, I knew you would come to ask for another favor one day. Delvin, her prowess, her fine beauty, and her gentle confidence were indeed dangerous. Although she was just teasing, her seduction can even make a guild master sweat. The woman stepped outside the entrance and closed the door behind her. What is it? She asked. Delvin looked to space beside the orphanage and nodded. A second later, a girl walked out, and she was carrying a baby that was sleeping peacefully. Due to the thieves' nature of sneaking and walking in the shadow, the kid was never awoken. As the girl was walking nearer and nearer towards Delvin and Nerina, she stopped and removed her hood with her left hand, while keeping the boy with her right. Headmistress, she greeted. So it was you, Tanilia? The girl had brown skin and black hair with gray eyes. These were some features that pointed to Redguards, natives of Hammerfell. From the atmosphere between the Dunmare and the Redguard females, it seemed that there was a history between them. Tanilia stepped forward and handed the baby in her arms to Delvin, and from him, he offered the child to Nerina. She looked between the kid and Delvin, then she takes the kid in her arms. Too beautiful to be yours. These were the first words to come out of her mouth, and Delvin's face immediately stiffed. Tanilia was barely holding her laughter, resulting in a pfft sound. He is the child of someone I owe my life to, and I can't entrust him to just anyone, Delvin says in firmness. So he is not just another child you will charm with words of wisdom and drag him to the Ratway to be your lackey? Nerina's words seemed to have hit the nail on its head. Delvin quieted down and was having conflicted feelings about how to reply to such accurate words. He decided to only shake his head, denying her accusation. His mother is someone that resembles you so much. She was alive the last time I saw her, but she was being chased. Nerina looked to the child and her face turned serious. In what way does she resemble me? I cannot share much detail on that, but both you are monsters. I'm sure you'd get along quite nicely. Then, this little one have to grow healthy and be a strong man. Nerina raised her brows and looked at the child, and with a smile. The child with red hair reacted by yawning in his sleep and leaning his head on her bosom. She couldn't help but smile vividly. What is the boy's name, and does he have any belongings? I would appreciate it if you register him in an earlier date than today, Delvin recommended. Why? Nerina tilted her head, not understanding why would Delvin request that. We don't want any unwanted attention around him, especially from the city's latest visitors, Delvin explained. Thalmer? Nerina opened her eyes wide in a shock. She unconsciously hugged the child tightly. He's less than a year old. They wouldn't inflict harm towards an innocent child, would they? These bastards don't care for such things. If they ever find out his heritage, they will most likely put his soul on a black soul gem, just for sport. Delvin spoke with hatred. Then he continued, I'll keep my eye on the kid from the shadows. His only belonging is a journal left by his mother. I will be safekeeping it until he is old enough. Nurina nodded silently. And watch out for him from that, Hagraven Grelad, Delvin warned her. The last thing he'll ever want for the boy is to have a miserable childhood. Hagravens are a horrific cross between an old crone and a bird. They fire AoE magic and can be found in the reached west of Skyrim. Go away already, before any guards come by and get suspicious. I know what to do. Nurina began to be cautious and shoo away Delvin from the orphanage. Delvin gave a wry smile before heading into the darkness. Kid's name is Jon, he whispered, then disappeared into the night. Nurina turned around and closed the orphanage's door with the child. First-person POV once again. MC is back? Was that light just now? I am out of the damn headset. Finally, phew. I already have VR phobia. I really thought I will never make it. Damn, the light is too bright. Did Fatty and Four Eyes drag me out of my bed? Don't tell me I will wake up in a hospital after 2 years of blank memories. No. Definitely not. Calm down me. Yes, keep calm. Now let's see where this light is coming from. Oh? What is that? This hospital has a weird taste of decoration. I mean, a wooden ceiling is too weird in this part of the world, right? Maybe it's some weird place where they treat people for less money. I knew it. These guys really did it this time. Man, wait until your daddy, comes home and teach you a lesson. Now, to the matter at hand. Where is this annoying light coming from? I look around to my left and open my eyes widely. Is that a fireplace? In Egypt, these things don't even exist. Wah. Wait, what the hell? I am pretty sure I was saying, is anyone here? Wait a second. This furniture looks so damn familiar. I can't believe it. I'm in game? Didn't I get out? But look at the place. I downloaded too many realism and immersion mods till I mistook it with reality. UNF ***, KIN believable. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Wowzers. Can I take a screenshot? Doesn't seem I can. Not important. Anyway, why am I not moving? As I'm trying to get up, I discover something strange. Oh, so that's how it is. I am a baby. A baby? Babies? In Skyrim? This Origin of the Something mod is getting better and better. Skyrim modding at its best, ladies and gentlemen. So, I guess I am a lost child and I grow up in someplace. Then the main story starts when I get older. Perfect. This is exactly how I imagined it to be. Anyway, will I wait for anyone now, or should I save the game? Let's just... Oh my god. A giant. Wah. Nope, that's not what I wanted to say. I only said OMG. A giant. Stop embarrassing me. So you finally woke up. A womanly voice sounded from that giant. Oi, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Am I being carried up? Wait, this is no giant. If it was a giant, then it wouldn't be this attractive. By the gods, it's a beautiful Dunmare. Dea Wawawa. E/N. It was confusing to have them side by side. Stop it. Seriously. Why am I making these damn noises? Ehe. You look so lively. The Dunmer's voice acting is so top-notch. Who did such a fine job? And who could make such a fine-looking NPC? Not even Ethereal Elven mod can make the elves that good? Was it Eleonora's doing? Gotta be hers. Have to take a screenshot, damn it. Wah. Let's ignore that voice. I can't find a way to screenshot at all. Not even the mental control can do it. Then let's save the game. By the way, where's the HUD? Escape. Not working. Save. Not that either. Okay, let's... Wait a minute. What is that feeling? Ah crap. I need to go to the bathroom. But why is it that I'm about to cry? Ahem. Is there a toilet around here? Wawa. Not good, it's leaking. Why is it leaking? This is Skyrim, right? There are no toilets in this game, right? There are no babies in this game, right? This is not reality, right? Right. No, don't take my clothes off. Please. Don't look at it. If you do, It will destroy my dignity. New. Wah wah. Chapter has been edited by Josue 561. Chapter 6. The reason? I really waited for 6 hours to pass so the headset would force me out, but it wasn't just 6 hours. It was 6 years. 6 years after arriving in this world, many things are different from the game I used to know. More people, more space. The world is bigger, much, much bigger than what it was in the game. I am to the tip of my nose in foreign waters. I may know some locations in Skyrim, some events that will happen in the future. I know many secrets and treasures whereabouts. But the people around me are not some NPCs. They are real people. Humans, elves, and beast folk really coexist in this world. I question the reality of this world so many times, but I can't seem to be in a dream or hallucination. It led me to even question the world I was in before, but that won't make anything understandable too. This world is not some fabrication or a dream. What kind of a dream can be so vivid and warm? What kind of world can give this amount of data unless it is a real world? I see it everywhere, in people as they are not fixed to certain moves and routine like it is in the game. I see it in nature as there are so many things I haven't seen in the game. I see it anywhere and everywhere. Many people thought of me as a troubled or dark child because of my out-of-age behavior, so I started to get along with the other kids in the orphanage. Honor Hall Orphanage, known nationwide in Skyrim as the largest orphanage, it was considered the only orphanage in the game, but there seems to be one in the city of Markarth and another in the capital, Solitude. I am glad I was in Riften, though. I got to meet with Nurina. Even though I miss my family in my past life, I feel that Nurina is a family to me. She clearly favors me over the other kids. I know that, they know that, but she always says that she raised me since I was less than a year old, so she treats me as a relative. I owe her more than what I can possibly pay back in a lifetime. She was one of the people that never appeared in the game. I am not sure if mods are taking effect in this world or not, but me being here was due to the mod called Origins of the Lost. I requested to learn how to read and write from her at the age of 4. She never would have thought I already know how to do though. Actually, this is just English, so I am not in strange waters, even though it's not my first language. About my first language, I kept writing notes with it and murmur it to myself, just to not forget who I am or what I once was. I wrote these notes in secret, and they were about all what I could remember about the mods, lore, secrets, and events that will happen in the future. I had to keep the knowledge that I am sure it will be of good use in the future. Grelid once found some of my notes in my native language and accused me of doing Daedric rituals. Daedric refers to Daedra, which are a group of gods that are evil and do mess with the world with more freedom than actual gods. This King Old Crone doesn't leave me at peace. She hates Nurina and me, and also considers both of us her archenemies. Of course she does, and why not? The only one who can stop her from beating the kids is Nurina, and I always lash out at her. Nurina always tells me to respect thy elders, but I am sure she excluded Grelid from the start. In the game, Grelid always mistreats the children and abuses them. In that game, Nurina doesn't exist. I don't want to believe anything bad will happen, but I won't let anything happen to Nurina even if it costs me my life. I swear on it. Aside from Nurina and my gang, there's another person who visits me from time to time. He is Delvin, and not just any Delvin, it is Delvin Mallory. The Delvin Mallory from the Thieves Guild. This man is a master at the sneaking skill. Just what is his relationship with me? He's a Breton, so he can't be my relative, thank God. I love to be a Nord in this country of Nords, because of a very disturbing reason. Nords are racist, and there are only 2 racist races in this world that I know of, and they are Nords and Altmare, the High Elves, which means no more bullying. Now introducing my gang, they are Ysolda, Sviti, and Wolfer. Ysolda, as everyone who played the game knows, is the chick that roams the market in the city of Whiterun. She lost her parents and came to Riften, and she has a strong desire for making money and being a merchant. Sviti and Wolfer were a sister and brother. Sviti is a quiet girl but was good singer, and Wolfer is an honest and kind guy. We usually play whenever it's possible, and they treat me good, so we are on good terms. Spending the days in this peaceful manner is not good for me. Ysolda is already learning how to count money and how to speak to people. Sviti practiced most of the time to become a bard and go to the Bard's College, while Wolfer accompanies me to read and learn from Nurina. He also helps Ysolda in her weird ideas of buying and selling worthless stuff. These guys are already 6 years old and they are so dependable and hard workers. If I was like that in my past life, then I would have become something much more than just a lawyer. It's decided. Then I will do not just my best but my bestest. This world can kill anyone easily, so best is to prepare and meet the world ready go. My first choice in a fantasy world with sword and magic is to learn the damn magic and the skills of the game. But there is a big problem I faced long ago. I can't access the skill menu or the magic menu. Of course, this is reality. There is no such thing as system or a handout, but I never asked, right? I go to Narina's room and knock on her door. She answers and says, "Come in." I go inside right away. One of Narina's habits is that when she sees me, she always smiles. She heals everything with that smile. Even though her smile would give me a trauma when I first came to this world, but let's forget about that. I sit on a wooden chair opposite to her. She puts away a book she was reading and looks at me silently. "Narina, I want to learn magic. I just got right into business." Narina's brows rose up. Then she closed her eyes and smiled. "Finally," she said while widening her smile. And then she opened her eyes and leaned her body on her arms while resting her forearms on her knees like some sort of gangster. "Brat, you always read about magic, but you never asked about spell tomes. What took you so long?" she said while being amused with the situation. "So she was waiting for it, huh? My friends are working hard for what they want to achieve. I don't want to lag behind," I replied nonchalantly. "You don't have any dreams or goals?" Narina asked again. Damn it, it's that question. The same one I failed to answer in my past life so many times. I have to answer carefully this time. I don't want to be a bard or merchant. I wanted to be an alchemist, but you said materials need a lot of money. I wanted to be a smith, but I feel learning magic now is more important than anything else. I gave my best answer. Narina nodded while raising her brows again. "Anything else?" she asks. Damn, I put all the good answers in one go. Let's play a 6-year-old for now. I also want to protect Narina. Not a bad answer, even if I say so myself. Cut the crap. Narina's answer was as accurate as ever. I feel so sad for myself. Why can't my innocent child act work on her? Fine. I will teach you magic, but only restoration magic, Narina declares as she takes out 2 yellow books with a drawing of a light spirit on top of it. These are healing, a self-healing magic, and healing hands, a magic that heals other people. I receive the books with high spirits. Can I learn some alteration magic? I asked with a poker face. And what do you want it for? Narina asked with puzzlement. To mess with Grellet, of course. I answered with a sly smile. Narina smiled back slyly too. Mainly she was the one who I learned fox mode from, so we always had this kind of conversations. She went back to her desk and took out 2 brown-colored books with a tree drawn on them. I could read Alarm and Stone Skin on them. Wait a second here. These are mod spells. The 2 of them are from mods. Alarm is from Apocalypse mod. It is a magic that alerts you when an enemy crosses the certain perimeter, and Stone Skin is a magic that adds a layer of protection for a certain time, but it's altered by a mod called Balanced Magic from its vanilla version, which is called Stone Flesh, that changes the character appearance in that of a stoneman. Stone Skin only adds a transparent layer of protection. This is serious. This means mods most certainly are affecting this world. This may be not bad, but that is strange. Thinking about it, there are only 4 conclusions I came up with. The first is this world already existed, but when I came to this world, mods made changes. The second is the world was formed after my death in the VR headset. The third is that this world is an illusion. The fourth is this world already existed, but some conditions were met with my mod list that made my reincarnation in this world possible. The first is scary, the second is absurd, the third is not good at all, but the fourth is the most possible conclusion I can come up with. So to summarize what happened to me, it is that I overloaded my mod list with realism mods that was not over the quota of the mod amount, but the amount of information itself had caused my brain to get overloaded and fall apart, which resulted to my death. This information possibly made some kind of effect on me, or rather on something not visible like my essence. Due to that effect, some conditions must have been met, like, for example, the data in the game matched the information in the world, and something like my soul took over or replaced John's soul, like when you move a file in a folder and the folder has a file with the same name already there. So the new file has to replace the existing file. This is too absurd. This can't be real. I am saying that the indecent in the VR headset had changed the information of me renaming me to Jon, and for some reason the information vessel, let's call it Soul, moved from Earth to Nern and replaced the person that I have matching information with. What explains that even more is that Jon was already born, but I don't have any memories of that time he lived in this body. Incredible. Only one mystery remains. What is the reason that led my soul from Earth to Nern? Chapter 7. Learning Magic. That was too much for my brain to process. Even Nurina and my friends saw my expressions changing between questioning to frowning to amazement all day, and they gave me space. Was really an incredible theory if it was right. Fear took me for a moment, but what would I do with fear? I need strength to overcome the hurdles, gain more information, and make a stable foothold in this world. I go back to my bed and open my chest where the books, tomes, and notes of mine are organized. I took my quill and inkwell as well as a red journal. This journal contains secrets that can make the Empire, Skyrim, and the Thalmor turn upside down. For starters, let's read what we know. 4 times, 10 to the power of negative 186 second of midyear, June. I start this journal as a reminder to collect every essential piece of information I can collect. First, this world called Nern has 2 major continents that have all the action, Tamriel in the west and Akavir in the east. Some parts of Tamriel resemble Earth's Europe and Africa, and other parts are just as alien as it can get. Akavir, from what I could remember, it resembles Asia, and it's the home of some beast folk that are hostile to both humans and elves. Tamriel, where I live, has 9 nations. Skyrim up in the north, home of Nords. Morrowind in the northeast, the home of Dunmer, Dark Elves. High Rock in the northwest, home to Bretons. Hammerfell in the east, home of Redguards. The Empire of Cyrodiil, home to Imperials in the middle, south, and east of Tamriel. Black March, home to Argonian, Lizardfolk, in the southeast. Valamwood, home to Bosmare, Wood Elves, and Elsewhere, home to Khajiit, Catfolk, are 2 neighbor countries in south. And in the southwest lies Somerset, all the home of the Altmare, High Elves, and the stronghold of the Aldmeri Dominion. Last is the orcs known as the Orsimer. They are of elven blood, but sometimes rumored to be beast folk. No one really likes them for any particular reason whatsoever. Their home is the city of Orsinium, located in High Rock, and they have many villages around the world. Skyrim, where I live, is a kingdom with 9 holds, province. Each hold has a major city and few villages. The Rift in the southeast has Riftend City. Falkreath Hold in the south has Falkreath City. The Reach in the west has Markarth City. Halfingar Hold in the northwest has Solitude City, the capital of Skyrim, and where the High King lives. Winterhold, the Pale, and Jalmarch Hold are 3 holds that are located in the north. Their cities are Winterhold, Dawnstar, and Mordhal in order. In the east lies Eastmarch Hold, and its city is Windhelm, and lastly Whiterun Hold in the middle of Skyrim with Whiterun City. And now to the important information. As Nurina doesn't allow us away from the orphanage too far, I could gather important information. First, forget about how Riftend looked in-game. It was just a small city with a few houses that anyone can count. But this is way too different. The city in the game is only the core area in this world. Riftend has many inns and lots of houses. Mistvale Keep is so damn larger than the game, and everything else is just that way. Even the orphanage, which was a single-story building in-game, is front of me a double-story building with lots of rooms and wings. Each wing has a supervisor, and there are 5 wings. I live the headmistress's wing. When I first went out to the market square, I saw lots of people that I never recognized, and the square has much more stalls than the game. This is a real world for sure. I went out once with Nurina and saw the lower part of Riftend. It was scary and had many ruffians and lowlifes. Too bad the master alchemist opened his store in such a place, which we headed to. Newcomers may wonder why a city has a lower part. It was because half of the city was built on a Lake Henrik. This city was a 2-story city. 4 times, 10 to the power of negative 186, 20th of sun's height, July. The weather in Skyrim changes from cold to freezing to cold to warm. I am a Nord, so I don't complain. But the 4 seasons are reflected in the world awesomely. When it's autumn, no tree has leaves, and rain becomes so annoying. When it's winter, UA*S will catch frostbite if you stay an hour away from a heat source. When it's spring, you can call that a cold spring, but it's not that bad. And finally, everyone's favorite is summer. Everyone and their mothers just go swim in a lake and relax. This morning, the whole orphanage accompanied with some guards and the Jarl's people to Lake Henrik, and we played the whole day celebrating the day of sun's rest. I even saw the Blackbriar trio with their mother Maven. She always glares like someone I know. Dear me. This is Maven Blackbriar, the strongest woman in Skyrim, and also the richest if I am not mistaken. She owns the Blackbriar Meadery, and she is in cahoots with every evil faction in Skyrim, from the Thieves Guild to the Dark Brotherhood of Assassins, and also the goddamn Thalmor. During the day I saw Sibby Blackbriar, Maven's oldest son, glaring at me. What's with him? Is there any discrimination towards redheads in this world too? I knew it. I thought would happen someday. I mean, I am the most handsome kid in the orphanage, or maybe rift in a hole. I closed the journal and put it back. Thank goodness it was written in an alien language. If anyone saw this, I will die of shame, even though it recorded many memories that make me can't help but smile. Basically, all of my notes are all like this. I mean, who can read them other than me? Yet for some reason Narina saw them once and looked at them full of interest. I managed to trick her that this language is a secret code of mine that I made to prevent others from reading it. Kids in my age do that sort of weird stuff, right? Actually, kids my age can't read at all, let alone studying tomes the way I do. Spell tomes, or what referred to between mages as tomes, are books that hold the techniques of manipulating magic. Currently, I am learning the spells that Narina gave me. Magic is all about manipulation and result. Manipulation is how to use magic. The way humanoids use magic is different than dragons, for example. The result is related to the effect and the target. The effects are absorb, damage, drain, detect, dispel, cure, weaken, control, alter, reflect, resist, conjure, command, fortify, restore, and bend. These words are what the spells relay on, and they also something like the keyword in every spell in the game. The target is more complicated, but it's divided into attribute, energy, skill, or a special target like an undead or a dragon in the case of the specialized spells. Attribute is the max number of a certain state. For example, HP 88/100 is the attribute. Energy refers to health, stamina, and mana. Skill refers to one of the 18 skills in Skyrim that has its own levels. Learning a spell in real life is so much time-consuming and different from the game. In the game, you buy the book and press learn, with a puff you learn the spell, and the book disappears. In real life, it takes more time and books don't disappear, but mages are really selfish, so they don't share their tomes with anyone. It also means that to get high-level spells, one need to do more than just paying money. Unlike the game, these books are very priceless, and due to that, some spells and arts disappeared in time. Magic is divided into 6 major schools, and they are conjuring, illusion, destruction, alteration, restoration, and mysticism. An explanation of the schools. Alteration. Bound by the laws of nature, it changes the world around the caster so normal physical truths no longer hold. Effect. Control and alter physical conditions and constitutions. Mysticism is involving the manipulation of magical forces and boundaries to bypass the limitations of the physical world. Effects. Absorb, detect, dispel, reflect, block, resist, magicka, spatial mark and recall, teleportation, destruction. It is concerned with dealing damage to all forms of matter, both living and non-living, and with making matter more vulnerable to such damage. Effect. Absorb, drain, damage, energy, /drain, attribute, skill, /weakness, element, energy, physical. Restoration. Spells that heal, restore, and fortify the body's attributes and abilities, cure disease, and protect from or damage other malign, negative energy, influences. Effect. Absorb, restore, attribute, energy, skill, /fortify, attribute, skill, /resist, cure, disease, poison, /damage, undead. Illusion. Not bound by the laws of nature, it changes the world around the caster so normal physical truths no longer hold. Effect. Bend wills, visibility, sounds. Conjuration. The art of summoning creatures or items from another plane. Effect. Summon and banish, /command, Deidre, and undead, /soul command. Spells are divided from novice, apprentice, adept, expert to master. With the mod Balanced Magic, increasing the power of the spells with the player's level was possible, and it seems possible in the real world too. As long as reality is this kind, it only the matter between me, my mental capacity, and how much time I have to learn the spells. Chapter 8. Jon Dare. Several days have passed. I was recording the new discoveries regarding my magic theory, and it was interesting to research such stuff. It was said that battle mages to research mages ratio was 3 to 7, and I can see why. I could think of many ways to make some spells possible, but don't get me wrong, creating a spell is a hard job that needs more than just understanding a theory. It needs the techniques of manipulation to be made with carefulness because magic energy can backfire and injure the user. My current problem is lack of experience in techniques. They are the way you command your magic to manifest, like casting by putting magic directly into shape, or shouting like dragons to force magic into some sort of form. While making the magic form, you need to understand which form goes with which effect, and how you fix that on a target to create a result. As making my own theories, I improve rapidly day by day. One thing that is annoying me is that my magicka regeneration is slow. This can be helped by a potion or an enchanted artifact. Both cost money, but an artifact will last longer. To make an artifact, one needs a soul gem. Soul gems are graded from petty, lesser, common, greater, grand, and black. One needs to perform a soul trap on something they kill to trap a soul into the nearest soul gem. The game was a little bugged in that regard, so I used a mod like Smart Souls and Mysticism the Lost Art. I also added a mod called Transmute and Fuse Soul Gems, which allows one to transmute 2 empty soul gems from a certain grade into an empty one from the next level. Fusion is about filled soul gems, but it takes 3 to make one higher. These are all very handy spells to serve the art of enchanting, which I consider the most important craft. The crafts in the game are enchanting, alchemy, and blacksmithing. With a mod called Hone Metal, one could ask any blacksmith to make them a piece of armor and upgrade it. That's of course a real option in any world. It also works with enchanting, but that's a different story in my opinion. I don't really like to waste time on blacksmithing, but it's a different story with enchanting and alchemy. Enchanting your own gear is the one way to make a good build in game, and you can bypass the normal enchanters by adding 2 effects on one piece of gear. Enchanting needs souls gems to put a soul in an item to work as its magic carrier. Enchanting weapons is different from enchanting an item you wear. The game didn't explain this, but for weapons, souls act as a fuel. Once you used all the power endowed within the enchanted weapon, it will just run out. So you need another soul gem to recharge the weapon once again. Enchanted wearables, on the other hand, doesn't need to use the soul power in them to show effect. Once they get equipped, the soul in the item will fuse itself with the soul of the user to add the effect. And unlike in games, there is more freedom in enchanting depending on the item's quality. Also in game, one needed to learn an enchantment by destroying an already enchanted item. Too wasteful, yet in reality it's much better compared. All you need to do is to study the effect and copy it on another item for practice. Alchemy is the most rewarding craft in game. You can use a mod like Harvest Overhaul to increase the harvest rate because the game's original rate was very low unrealistically. After having the ingredients, you need to mix them with others of a matching effects to make a greater effect. It may seem like the game, but it's totally different. There are more tools to be used. You need to mix ingredients into a pot and heat them in either water or alcohol. Some ingredients need to be mashed using mortar and pestle. And with a mod called Complete Alchemy and Cooking Overhaul, many potions and items like bombs could be created. Magical alchemy at its best, ladies and gentlemen. Today was the day when Nurina gave me a lesson in enchanting. Enchanting is a bit of a luxury, but it's an essential part of mages' lives. You simply can make a piece of gear that allows your magicka to regenerate faster or increase a certain attribute like health. These are the most direct and common enchantment. They are also the most efficient. With a mod called Winter Mist, more enchantment could be added to the game, and they are in this world too. These are pretty useful enchantments in my opinion. To enchant, one needs an enchanting table, or one could simply make one. It isn't hard, but it needed materials. A troll skull, few candles, an amethyst, and a bone meal powder. What happens next is to draw a star-shaped magic circle with the bone meal. Put a candle on the 5-star edges and place the amethyst in the troll skull. Trolls has 3 eyes and their third eye is in the forehead, and that's where we place the amethyst. Place the skull between 2 star edges on the circle and you are pretty much done. After all of that is done, the circle will attach the soul to the item placed on it by sucking in from the soul gem. During the process, one must activate his magic to endow a certain effect on the soul. While the process of soul attaching is happening, the item turns into an item with a soul that has a certain effect called an enchanted item or magical item. Best enchanters can add another effect, making the soul inside the item has two effects, but that's a master level technique. After the lesson was over, Nurina gave me few worthless items to enchant, and it turned out that I am talented in handling magic. It was thanks to my theory and mysticism that made my magic control so as Nurina's into a top-notch control. Days passed peacefully, and we welcomed a new member to the gang, Akira, the super cute Khajiit girl. We took her around with us in our runs around the city. She turned out to be very talented in haggling. Isolde fell in love with Akira after that and invited her to be a trading partner in the future. I really like where this is going. Isolde in the future will return back to Whiterun, which means Akira might be there. Let's charm Akira about Whiterun. Saying it is a safe city and also a trading hub will make that girl listen. Today the five of us planned on making some money by selling sweet treats. Last time Isolde failed to sell, and she was in a gloomy mood. This time I suggested making a big move. Why don't we make a performance while selling our stuff? It will be legit, and then neither the guards nor the traders will make a fuss about it. I made my ultimate suggestion. What kind of performance? Wolfer was a bit timed, so he asked cautiously. I looked at Sviti and asked, remember the songs I taught you? Teach it to Wolfer and Akira, then I and Isolde will handle the rest. Everyone looked at Sviti. I thought her few songs from my past life that was sung by vocal bands. It was not much different to the way bards sing in Skyrim. One of my favorite is Loituma, even Polka, the original Finnish song, not the Japanese ripoff. I taught her many other songs I remembered. Sviti was to sing, Wolfer was to play on the flute, and Akira could do the drum, so it was pretty much well planned. On the other hand, Isolde would sell the sweet treats to the crowd, and I would collect the money for the performance. We picked a good spot in the market square and made the plan into practice. The song was rewrote by me, so it was according to the lore of the world, and it told a story about a certain warrior who fought a great monster with his axe and saved his maiden fair trapped on top of the tower that the bear nested in. In this part of the world this story fitted greatly, and the Nords would greatly love it, and so it was. We gathered money like bees on honey. The hat I used to gather coin in was filled to its brim with copper, and some generous paid silver. That was a huge hit. The treats sold quickly too. Isolde was at her wit's end. Haha, witness the power of the 21st century. After the day was over, we had 2 out-of-breath siblings and a do cheerful coin diggers, and there was me, the mastermind of the day. After the performance, few bards approached Sviti and invited her to the college and gave her recommendations. Wolfer was invited too, but to no surprise, no one wanted anything to do with other races like Akira the Khajiit. It wasn't unexpected, but it was good to make sure that these 2 siblings have gotten a ticket out of Riften. That means Wolfer will get to live, and Sviti won't get chased out like what happened in the game. This time my success was at changing and affecting the game lore for the first time. One thing I was sure of, I must not interfere with the big events until 4 times 10 to the power of -201, the time when the main game events will start. Handing the big coin purse to Isolde, she looked at it as if she had her very own child. She held it in 2 hands and was about to make a speech. But an unexpected turn of events happened. A taller figure with a covered face ran behind Isolde and snatched the purse from her. Isolde cried out and directed a glare at the figure and shouted, "Thief!" I had the blood rush in my head and chased after the thief. Akira was the second to follow. The rest wasn't as fast as a thief in training and a Khajiit girl, so they lagged behind. The thief gave his all while running. He seemed knowledge about the city and kept avoiding obstacles and kept on pulling stuff to block the road behind him. Akira had no problem whatsoever in moving past these obstacles, but I as a human would have trouble, or that how it should have happened. I have made my own version of parkour while training with Vex and the others from the Thief Guild a bit of a time ago, and it showed its full might in this situation. Many people started to notice, and I could even feel some presences following from the sides. I could see Brynjolf and Delvin with a figure clad in a big cloak and a hood behind them. I think I saw these 3 in the performance. I could feel some gazes form the Meteorese window. It was Maven and a girl beside her that looked similar. Even Nurina saw me and Akira running while she was shopping and started following. I and Akira were so nimble that we started having fun, and began competing who would catch the thief first. The thief felt us getting closer and then made a turn after the general goods store. There was a ladder that reached the roof. I made a jump and was about to catch the thief's foot, but he moved faster. I had no choice but to climb after him. Reaching the roof, 4 masked figures waited for the thief, and he handed the money purse to the one with expensive-looking clothes. I could see that as I have already reached and met eye to eye with these punch. "Hand it over," Akira roared at them. The person with the purse was amused at her anger. He clearly had a plan in mind as he winked to his cronies. They started to move and surrounded me and Akira. I and Akira stood back to back. "I smell mead from them," Akira said in a soft voice. They were not much older than us. They were around 15, and we were outnumbered at that. "They are the boys from the meadery," I replied as I noticed their identities. The person with the purse in his hands was clearly Sibby Blackbriar. So he started to pick on me finally. I have foreseen that since a while ago. He always gave me bad glares. People would most certainly cower if a Blackbriar glared at them, but I kind of like to take a challenge head-on. I make a move as I pick a dagger from my boots. It was a common way to hide a dagger, but not for a 10 years old, of course. Akira brandished her claws. Kajiti claws are on pars with a good early weapon in the game. The meadery boys halt, but Sibby seemed dissatisfied. He said, "They are just 2 brats." Well, he is right. We are no match for them. So how about that? I launched the novice lightning spell, Sparks, front of Sibby's feet. Sparks is a channeling spell which you keep firing like a lightning thrower. It's the weakest lightning spell. F***C. Sibby cursed as he jumped back with terror in his eyes. Magic is magic after all. The meadery boy retreat immediately. Sibby shouted, trying to hide his terror. F***cur. How dare you? Akira stiffened as she heard his words. Of course she knew that my magic words have been said. I can't resist a taunting with the word dare in it. Everyone in the orphanage knows that. If you want to get hit, say, "How dare you?" And you will trigger me immediately. My smile turns devilish as I already made my mind. The 5 idiots became more afraid as I took a step towards them. Sibby was going to piss himself as magic was still appearing on my left hand. Suddenly, he made a move towards the edge of the roof. Then he held the purse in a throwing pose and threatened, "I'll throw it in the canal." There was indeed a big canal in the street. People started to notice and the atmosphere turned stiff. I look at Akira and she nodded. That girl is smart and already went down from the roof. I walked towards Sibby again. He got more nervous and he suddenly make his move. "I dare you go after it, you F***cur." He threw the coin purse towards the empty air, and it was going to certainly fall into the canal of the lower part of the city. That's a 4-story height for you. My heart was going crazy as the purse rose in the air. My legs moved on their own and I ran towards the edge and jumped as after the purse. Dare is my third-person POV. Few hours before the confrontation of Jon and Sibby, a tall figure clad in a brown cloak with a big hood descended the stairs that lead from the upper city and rift in to the undercity. The figure carried a big battle axe on its back, but its steps were soft and quiet. Upon arriving to the lower parts, the figure stopped front of a gate with iron bars. What lied beyond that gate with a hellhole of stink and moist known as the Ratway? The figures passed through the gate with ease, not minding the smell at all. The Ratway was the sewers of Riften. It was dim and filled with unexpected encounters. As the figure walked in the tunnels, a torch appeared illuminating the darkness. The figure stretched its hand to take the torch, but it suddenly came to halt. Looking around, the figure noticed something that made a strange pose, and then took the torch from the wall. A click sounded and a strange iron ball with spikes fell from the top towards the figure, but it didn't hit. The figure sighed and shook its head helplessly, then took the torch and kept on advancing. After few turns, the figure arrived at a door. On the door, there was a sign saying, "The Ragged Flagon." It was known as the Ghost Tavern, as it was the location where the Thieves' Guild members would gather, yet it wasn't known where it was, as the Ratway was, as its name gave, a damnable maze. Few could find this place, and that figure was one of them. After pushing open the doors, a circular chamber with an uneven surface appeared. In the middle of it, water gathered as if it was a pool, and around its sides, a path to walk around the pool was there. The figure walked to the right until other figures of people in black leather appeared. The place on the other end of the chamber was that of what resembles a bar with few stools and some table and chairs. As the figure wanted to advance to the bar, a young giant man appeared to block its pass. "We are full-on customers," the man tried to sound scary. The figure in brown cloak only cupped its right hand into a fist and buried it deep into the young man's stomach. The man fell to his knees, and with hand on the ground and a hand on his stomach, it made an inappropriate sound. The figure moved its left leg and landed a stomp on the man's head, sending him to the dream realm. Few steps later, the other few figures around the bar was intensified from what happened to their lookout. One of them was bald with a rough skin, made an eye contact with the figure. The figure immediately headed towards him. As the figure sat on the chair opposite to the bald man, it removed its hood and cloak. What appeared was a woman with red wavy hair and sharp blue eyes. She wore an armor known as the Nordic carved armor. She wore it without a padding armor, so her arms were full on view until her armored bracers, so were her legs. The bald man was Delvin and the red woman was Hilda. It was a meeting that didn't happen in few years. "Mama came for a visit," Hilda said while snatching the sweet roll from of Delvin. Delvin was surprised by the sudden visit, but he was not in the position to argue with that scary woman. He looked at Brynjolf and said, "Your friend Jon is doing okay?" Brynjolf was in a daze from the strange situation, but he nodded to Delvin. "Brynjolf, was it? Come and lead me to him," Hilda demanded like a boss, and Delvin nodded to Brynjolf, confirming her words. Brynjolf could only walk in the front pass to the passed-out lookout. He exited the round chamber followed by Delvin and Hilda, and headed outside the ratway. The three headed to the market square and saw a large crowd. They frowned. "That's Jon's place." Brynjolf was Delvin's eye on Jon, so he knew most of what was Jon up to. After a while, the three passed the crowd and saw 5 kids in an unusual scene. A girl was singing. A boy was playing the flute. A Khajiiti girl was playing the drum. A girl was selling sweet treats, and a boy was walking around interacting with people holding a hat which has some coins in. The crowd interacted with the unusual scene very smoothly. The song was so Nordic and the music supporting it was so synced with the song. The kids made vocal music with humming and words, which was even more than just what a normal bard would do. It was a clearly new style that all people became curious about. The sweet treats of the kids sold by the lone girl. The boy with a hat collected money from people and was moving nimbly while showing off his half-dancing way of walking, and the band of 3 that stood on a platform made of crates kept singing. No matter how anyone looked at it, that was a selling business of a bunch of talented kids. Hilda looked at the boy with a hat and was taken aback, but she smiled and gave him a silver coin. The kid was not shy and made a bow with a smile and a wink to the lady. He was doing that with the girls and ladies who were paying for the band to sing more. After some time, the crowd dispersed, and the kids gathered in a corner, carrying away their stuff and gathering the coins in a single purse hurriedly. After they finished, the girl that sold the sweets held the purse and was about to say something to her friends, but a figure ran behind her and snatched the purse. The red-haired kid gave a chase, followed by the Khajiit girl. Hilda was about to throw her axe at the thief, but she held herself back. She followed after the kids who gave a chase, and she was about to give a hand when she saw a very strange scene. The Khajiit girl way of running was like a beast in the woods. It was so simple yet very nimble and fast. The red boy, on the other hand, ran in the most interesting way she has ever seen. He jumped over obstacles like a clown. He moved in a way that was so refined and artistic that made him look like he was doing it with ease. Delvin himself was surprised. He looked at Brynjolf and asked, "What was that just now?" "That's his style that I once told you about. He called it free running or something. I don't know how he made it, but it is really hard to master." Brynjolf spilled the beans immediately. The 3 looked at Jon's moves and followed to where he chased the figure. Along the way, they pumped into Nerina, who joined them without questioning Hilda's identity. After Jon and Akira chased the thief to a rooftop, the 4 could see the confrontation from distance. After Jon threatened the big boys with magic, Hilda was surprised. Even more, she never expected that a 10-year-old kid had arcane skills like magic and martial skills like his so-called free-running in his arsenal at such age. When the mood stiffened on the rooftop, the Khajiit girl ran down and Jon ran towards the boss of the thieves on the edge of the roof. It was a sight to witness as the money purse was thrown towards the canal under the city and Jon flying after it. Dare is my surname F*** Kier. Jon's shout was heard by everyone in that part of the city. The time seemed like it had slowed down. The blood of everyone boiled as they heard those scary words. A thunderous roar accompanied the voice of that child. It was a power that only true Nords could muster. It was a war cry. Hilda witnessed it. Nerina witnessed it. Maven witnessed it. Delvin and Brynjolf witnessed it, yet they withstood it. Other people with weak hearts could only shiver from the power of that cry. Jon made a free fall after the purse and caught it. Then he dived into the canal. Both Hilda and Nerina could hold their excitement no more and spoke in unison, "That's my boy." The atmosphere froze at this point again as the two beauties looked to each other with a surprise. Anyway, from that day Jon was officially known as Jon Dare. Chapter 9. Two Mothers. Brynjolf ran towards the canal and started looking for Jon. A moment later Jon swam up and was a bit dizzy. Working the whole morning, chasing a thief through the city, jumping from a high rooftop to a deep canal while shouting a war cry certainly took a toll on a 10-year-old child. Even though his mental age is about 35, it could only add to the burden on the body. Brynjolf fished the dizzy boy out from the canal and carried him back. The 4 kids from the orphanage caught up to Brynjolf and took the already passed-out Jon from him. Wolfer carried Jon and the girls took the purse. They kept it away from people's sight. Jon's war cry didn't scare them as he did not consider them to be hostile. On the rooftop the thieves were already at the brink of losing their souls. Sibby, who was the target of the war cry, was experiencing true terror. He was going to have PTSD after this for sure. One must know that war cry is a racial skill only gained by Nords. Through it, warriors could conjure all their fighting spirit and bloodlust, then manifest it into a thunderous cry. The cry can devastate the morale of any weaker enemies and would make normal people faint from terror. Only strong warriors could make this cry. Ulfric Stormcloak, the Jarl of Eastmarch, and Codlac Whitemane, the harbinger of the companions, were known living figures who were witnessed shouting a war cry. For a small kid from an orphanage to use such a skill, his future is certainly that of a great warrior. When the companions hear of this, they would send their people to invite him to join. Outside Skyrim there were mercenary guilds, but in Skyrim there were the companions. They are one of Skyrim's 4 guilds in game, and they are those people who come out to solve problems when the coin is right. They avoided political conflicts, so instead of calling them mercenaries they better to be called adventurers. The legend of Iskramor and his 500 companions is a basic knowledge for all Nords. A warrior from a faraway continent in the north was. He is one of the most legendary heroes of men, who played a pivotal role in the ascendancy of humans on the continent of Tamriel, but that's a story we will continue in another time. Back to the present and few meters away from the passed-out Jon, Hilda and Nerina stared at each other while Delvin was holding his forehead. He looked to both. Nerina, this is Hilda, Jon's mother, and Nerina is the headmistress of the orphanage. I see. Hilda was the first to speak. She totally forgot about that. I am Nerina Arin. A pleasure. Nerina turned cold to formal. Hilda Firemane. Thank you for raising Jon all these years. Hilda spoke politely. Nerina narrowed her eyes, which turned cold and sharp. You here to take him? And she kicked right into the main topic. Hilda gave a wry smile, while looking down, then shook her head saying, He's better off without me. Nerina felt the sadness in Hilda's voice. She wasn't going to give up her apprentice and the person she considered a family without a fight from the start, but she sympathized with Hilda. This way. Nerina walked ahead, leading Hilda to the direction of the orphanage. Hilda followed after she whispered something to Delvin, who nodded to her. He then signaled to Brynjolf, and both disappeared in the crowd. A while later Hilda, who was in her cloak and hood, reached the orphanage with Nerina, and it seems the kids have already reached her before them. Passing the entrance and to the next floor, they found the kids grouped around Jon's bed. Isolde and Akira kept nursing him. Nerina arrived to the side of the bed and handed a blue potion to the girls. She instructed them and led Hilda to her room. Hilda looked at Jon without nearing him. She felt like a hole was being dug in her heart. She then followed after Nerina. Nerina opened her room, led Hilda in, and closed the door tightly. She offered her a seat and sat opposite to her. Hilda sat and rested her big battle axe to a wall, then removed her cloak and looked around the room. It was a big enough room with full wooden furniture and some foreign objects that clearly didn't originate from Skyrim. A basket that held some staves and many shelves packed with books. A wide bed and a few pots that had some medicinal herbs and flowers planted in. It was a gorgeous room that fitted the Dumere style. Silence took the lead of the conversation, but Nurina, as the host, had to cut it. She looked at the bucket beside her and fished out a bottle. She offered it to Hilda, who, with a thanks, gladly took it. It was Honningbrew mead, Nord's favorite. Maybe I can get a sponsorship, lol. After a sip, Hilda spoke. So, the magic from a while ago, he learned it from you? She asked. One must know that Nords are not fond of magic, and some even hate it. They don't mind healing an enchanted weapon, though. He is talented and hard-working. For a Nord with a talent that surpasses some elves in magic is something that history has rarely recorded. Nurina bragged as much as she could. Hilda smiled and took another sip. His father also liked magic. She gave off a smile, yet it was filled with sadness. I am sorry. Nurina gave her condolences. Oh, no, he's alive. Probably. Hilda made a not-sure expression and shrugged her shoulders. Probably. Nurina was puzzled. The Thalmor failed to kill him in both the Great War and Hammerfell resistance, yet he killed them like a sickle in dry weed. That was Hilda's turn to brag. The war ended, and as a war hero, shouldn't that treaty of white gold something protect him and his family? Nurina was a bit confused here. Hilda finished the bottle in one go and looked at Nurina with narrow eyes, then said, unless... Nurina thought for a second about what Hilda meant with unless. She soon found the answer. Unless you are from the Blades. That was the only logical answer. The Blades' archenemy to the Thalmor, they were the personal guards of the Emperor after the Akaviri invasion in 1E 2703. Formerly known as the Dragon Guard, they served Emperor Remani, and evolved through history to be known as the Blades Guards of the Emperor and his intelligence operatives. The White Gold Concordant that was signed to end the Great War between the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion. It stated on some outrageous terms like disbanding the Blades and outlawing the worshipping of the ninth god of the Empire, Talos. Nurina made a very worried face after discovering such a truth about Jon's family. She even felt sad for Hilda and her husband. During the war, I was one of the Nords who were dispatched to the Empire as reinforcement. And after the treaty, I felt betrayed. The Empire abandoned its best of the best warriors and forsook mighty Talos. I was so ashamed of them, but I couldn't do anything. After that, we heard that Hammerfell refused the treaty and made preparation for war. I traveled there with my brothers and met with a former commander from the Blades. He was to be Jon's father, Commander Jonrad Firemane. Hilda kept telling the story to Nurina, who was so immersed in listening. After some time, they reached the part when Hammerfell decided to make a treaty with the Dominion, which was known as the Second Treaty of Strozmkai. There Jonrad and Hilda felt uneasy. The Thalmor, the ruling faction in the Dominion, will for sure send their spies and assassins to root out all of the unwanted trouble in Hammerfell. Due to some reason, Jonrad couldn't leave Hammerfell, so he sent his most trusted man, Fultame, with Hilda to Skyrim. Hilda was pregnant at that time and couldn't fight, so she had to hide in the Empire as a detour to lose the Thalmor on her tail, and she finally made it a year later to Skyrim. Nurina was so in awe from the grand adventure and was taking a huge liking on Hilda. Different from her first image of the mother who abandoned her child, Hilda was like some heroine in her eyes. Nurina talked about herself before coming from Morrowind and talked about her life with Jon, and about their tiny adventures and discoveries. Hilda was at her wits' end from what she heard. A child devolving a theory in magic was something unheard of, and his accomplishments and studies were on the par with some scholar from the Mages Guild or the College of Winterhold. But one thing I don't understand, Nurina asked, why did the Thalmor target you until now? I mean, it has been 10 years, and I am sure you have your secrets, but you don't have to hide all that much. Hilda was astonished of Nurina's observation. She looked at her and sighed. That is indeed another story. Yet the ones the Thalmor looking for is not me or my husband. Her eyes turned cold and her killing bloodlust was clear in her voice. They are after Jon. The F***ers are after my son. Nurina's eye shrunk and she stood up. Her expression was like a scared cat that was about to cry. Her soft voice was shaken, and she only muttered, "Why? Why?" while looking at Hilda's angry face. Hilda rudely stretched her arm and took another bottle from Nerina's booze bucket. Looking at it was a blackbriar mead. She opened it and walked to the window. There was a beautiful view of Lake Enrich. 10 years ago on the other shore of the lake, she stood and gave her child to a thief so he can live in peace away from her. The knight that followed her for a year went missing after that night, and she traveled to her clan for hiding among them ever since. 21 years ago, while I was fighting in the war, an accident happened in the Imperial Library. The inner circles of the commanders only heard about this, but it was revealed on a later date to the people. The disappearance of the Elder Scrolls. Hilda stopped talking, giving Nerina a breather after so many surprises. Nerina was moving around the room, not sure how to handle so many information. The Elder Scrolls, such a name, was only associated with legends and major accidents that shook the world and changed the face of the era itself. The Elder Scrolls, also called the Edric Prophecies, Edric from Edra, the opposite of Daedra, good gods, bad gods, are scrolls of unknown origin and number which simultaneously archive both past and future events. The number of the scrolls is unknown not because of their immense quantity, but because the number itself is unknowable, as the scrolls do not exist in a countable form. They are fragments of creation from outside time itself, and their use in divining prophecies is but a small part of their power. They simultaneously do not exist, yet always have existed. Witness the power of the wiki. Mwah. No, seriously speaking, the Elder Scrolls is so important that the name of the game itself is the Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. No one would mention the two words Elder and Scrolls together in such manner unless there is something big happening. What does the Elder Scrolls have to do with Jon? Nerina finally organized her thoughts and asked. She finally arrived at the 3 points of issue. Thalmor, Elder Scrolls, and Jon. 10 years ago, before I was pregnant with Jon, I met a moth priest from the cult of Ancestor Moth in a market in Hammerfell. He was blind, but it looked like he could see me. He came to my direction like mad, and when he tripped and fell, he crawled on all fours till he got to me. He was speaking like mad and said, "I found it. Not one, not two, but 3. You carry a child who is fated to carry 3 scrolls of the gods." I knocked the priest out and ran away from the market. When Jonrad heard of it, he devised a plan to lead us away from the eyes of the Thalmor. Few months later, I gave birth to a boy and ran away with him from Hammerfell, just as Jonrad planned. Jonhild was born year 4 times, 10 to the power of 181, named after his father and me. A year later, I arrived to Skyrim, and you know the rest. Cult of Ancestor Moth are a cult of people who can read the Elder Scrolls, but they get blind after doing so. So that how is it really happening? Such a child carrying such fate is sure scary. Not any parents could deal with such prophecy. Yet these two kept their cool and made the right choices under pressure. That was admirable effort, but too bad Jonrad was nowhere to be found. So what should we do after that? Nerina was already planning ahead. He can't stay in the orphanage after the age of 15, and truthfully, I was planning to take him with me to Winterhold. With his ideas, he can make more wonderful achievements in the arcane arts. Hilda nodded. That is a good idea, but he needs to be more capable and survive the trials of coming of age on his own. Hilda added. Coming of age? Don't tell me you mean that Nord nonsense tradition? Nerina was angry at such words. Those are the traditions. He must learn how to fight like a Nord. I know you don't like, and neither do I. What kind of mother would send her child to such challenge? But that's for his best. Hilda's resolve was firm. Nerina understood. Compared to such challenge, what lies in the future of such a kid is much more dangerous. I understand. I'll arrange for some people to instruct him in hunting and fighting. His talent will support him no matter what he does. I am sure of it. Nerina came to the same resolution as Hilda. Truthfully speaking, he can make a war cry at the age of 10. You really raised a dragon, Hilda remarked with a smirk. Foo-foo. Nerina laughed softly. The sweat on her face was already wiped away, and she was feeling better. She offered Hilda a bigger bottle and opened one for herself. The two mothers sat and laughed a meaningful soft laughs. They were already releasing some bloodlust about the fight ahead. This meeting of the two monsters was a meeting that the Thalmor will surely regret they could not prevent in the not-far future. Chapter 10. Wasn't this just a mod? I really wanted to ask whether or not should I continue writing in multiple POVs between first and third, or should I just make it only third person? Leave a suggestion at the comments section. First person POV again, but in hallucination. This is one heavy head I have here. I was in a canal, right? What is that? Looks so fluffy. I am a manly man who like fluffy stuff. Pleased and think about it too much. I want to hold it for a bit. Here. Feels just like perfect. Ouch. Darkness again? Maybe heaven don't take fluff lovers. Oh, I am in Skyrim. So it must be Sovngarde, which prefer warriors and stuff. Damn it to oblivion then. As long as it fluff. In Skyrim, Sovngarde is Valhalla-like place where noble warriors consider it heaven after death. Oblivion is the realm of Daedra, and it is considered hell to the most. Third-person POV. Jon passed out again. On Akira's hands this time. He was sleep-talking and the kids looked close to hear what he was saying, but it wasn't in the common language, so everyone thought he was seeing something nice. But when they turned back, they felt a shriek coming from Akira, who was the closest to the bed. Apparently, Jon has grabbed her tail unconsciously and Akira reacted too fast. She punched him back to oblivion. The kids looked to Akira with strange eyes. She felt awkward and said she was sorry. Boys felt bad for Jon, but Isolde snorted and joined Akira's side while saying, a well-deserved punch. It was strange that Nurina hasn't woken up to the racket, but no one was as close to Nurina than Jon. He was the only one who can break into her room normally. An hour later, Jon regained consciousness. First-person POV again? Let's never go after fluffy stuff half asleep ever again. Damn it, my face hurts. I had to apologize to Akira, but it seemed everything was okay. Next, they said that Nurina went into her room with a friend last night and hasn't gotten out yet. Should I go in? Let's wait till noon. I'll stay in the wing for now and fool around with the boys. Normally we ate and cleaned, then everyone was with his own duty. Today's cleaning duty was on me and Wolfer. Everyone cleaned their beds and belongings, then it was all gathered in an old sack. We left the boys' room to throw out the trash sack. Each wing has 3 rooms. Boys' room, girls' room, caretaker's room, and a hall that links them. The hall serves as a dining hall and teaching room. Unlike others, Nurina tends to teach the kids how to read and write, so the hall also served as a classroom. I, as Nurina's assistant, has many privileges among the kids. I learned the most and I lived in the orphanage the most. I normally don't have a place to go back to, but I am not really thinking about it. While taking the trash out, Wolfer was trying to talk about something, and he looked a bit down. What is wrong? Out with it. I asked him. He is a big guy with tall black hair just like his sister, but he is the shy one. Thank God I was tall, or it would look awkward lecturing him. Jon, my friend, you see, the other day, you and the others really were impressive. I can't sing like Sis or do amazing stuff like you and Akira. Even Isolde is a money digger on her own league. So I was thinking for a bit, if I am really as good as you guys. He was speaking and looking around. I get it. So it is like this. Listen, man. I know what you were thinking about. I understand it, and I felt like that once. That was me saying the truth, about a lifetime ago, though. Really? I mean, you? Wolfer questioned with a funny expression. Look at me. I grew up with no parents, has no inheritance, and clearly the ones gave birth to me didn't want such a handsome child. So they gave me up. I mean, I had to deal with that when I was younger, really depressed me, but I threw it to the back of my mind and did the best I could. That was me spouting bullsh *T. Wolfer was baffled. Listen, point is, you haven't done everything in the world to see what are you good at, right? I smirked. You are right, I haven't. But the others, and you discovered yourselves easily, though. Wolfer thought, but he wasn't an idiot. I really like that guy. Even though we are 10 years old, he has the guts to speak for himself. They found what they are good at themselves inside the orphanage easily because what they could do was possible inside the orphanage, I remarked. Then, he was still timid though. That means you have to look outside the orphanage, big guy. I was speaking like some gym coach now. We are already outside, so I know someone I want to introduce you to. I took the lead and Wolfer followed. Few minutes later near the market square, one could hear many tinkering sound. It was a forge under a shed next to a house. Come see Balamund perform miracles with steel. Eh? A large man with a big mustache made an appearance, wearing a blacksmith outfit that didn't quite match his blonde hair. Wolfer jumped back scared. That was Balamund for you. Balamund is a known NPC in-game. He was the only blacksmith in Rift Inn, and he always says those words to greet the players when they approach his workshop. He is very proud with his craft, and his personality is extremely friendly. I rolled my eyes backward to his greeting and was saying, just stop it in my mind. Old man Balamund, this big guy is Wolfer. As you can see, he is big and sturdy, and he seems to have interest in blacksmithing. I made a salesman from a second-hand cheap store offer and introduced Wolfer. Wolfer was taken aback. He said, did I? But I raised my voice to cover his. I see. Young Jon, it was a loss you didn't want to continue learning from me, though. Yet any friend of Jon is a friend of mine. Balamund said with a sad tone. I've met with Balamund a year ago and did a service for him. He wanted some fire salts, which is a rare alchemy ingredient, and I brought him some through my connections with the Thieves Guild. He was so excited and offered to teach me his technique and how to be a blacksmith. I wasn't excited about it, but I learned for a bit. My magic study is much more important for me, but it was fun to learn how to make good metal. I might start learning again later. This guy has a good head on his shoulders, and he is 10 years old just like me. He even can carry weights as much as grown man. You won't get disappointed? I continued to make Wolfer look good. You seem like a Khajiit merchant today, but let's see how long will he last. Balamund laughed and led Wolfer in. I kept watching and learned few stuff myself. Wolfer could really withstand the heat from the smelter, and he could hammer the metal for longer than even me. Frankly, I wasn't expecting any of that. Your friend is good and determined, Balamund said with a wide smile. Fine then, you'll take him in? I asked. He's from the orphanage, right? What are his circumstances? Balamund questioned. He'll leave probably for solitude. His sister was invited to the Bard's College, and we don't want her miss a good chance. After she finishes her study, they will settle in Whiterun. I informed Balamund about the sibling circumstance. I see. Blacksmithing doesn't get much talented people nowadays. They all want to become warriors, and it would be a waste if I didn't teach any of you too. I might really regret it. Balamund was always this honest. Fits Wolfer well in my opinion. But during the coming 5 years, he have to be my assistants. I'll give him coin and food as well as training. That's between you and him. Anyway, you have my blessing, I said. After that, it wasn't my business. I said I am going back first and left Wolfer at Balamund's. Back to the orphanage. I just barely passed the main door, and what meets me is grumpy face glaring. So oblivion hasn't swallowed you yet, Grelad taunted. Not before you, old hag. I taunted back, and don't think the heaven is so blind to leave you on Nirn with no one to torment you. Grelad's face darkened, but she couldn't retort at this one. I guess me performing a war cry the other day made my reputation in town soar. War cry? How impressive. I even surprised myself. It's strange though. I remember I had installed a mod called Imperious Races of Skyrim. That mod should overhaul the racial aspects and make new powers for each race. Warcry was supposed to be removed by that mod, yet that didn't happen. Maybe some mods didn't get transmigrated with me or something, but I'll need to make more experiments on that. Anyways, powers in the game had 1-day cooldown duration. It also explains why my head feels so light. Moving on, I arrived to the wing and informed Sviti about her brother's new job. She was happy for him. What a good sister. What impressed me was that Nurina hasn't woken up yet. This was a first time in forever for Nurina to be so carefree. I gotta see what the hell is going on. I arrived at the door of Nurina's room and knocked hard, yet no response. Seriously, I am worried now. I pushed the door, but it won't budge. I examined it, and it was locked with magic. Fine. Here I come. Open. I used the magic that opened doors. The door opened. What met me was darkness and a strong, suffocating smell of something I could identify as alcohol. I originally hated alcohol smell. Like it or not, I am a milk drinker. I closed the door hurriedly and went to the hall to catch a breath. There I remembered something. I ran to my bed in the corner of the boys' room and opened my chest. There was a gift that a senior made for me before he leaves the orphanage. It was a Nordic war horn. I took the thing and went back Nurina's room. covered my nose, and went running into the dark room as I removed the curtains and opened the window to the lakeside. Turning around, I blew the horn near the bed. What happened next was the funniest thing I have ever seen since I came to this world. Nurina and apparently, her friend was running from the bed waving around their arms in panic, screaming some words I couldn't understand, but whatever. Well, mission accomplished. I waited until they calmed down and then took out 2 potions I prepared beforehand. It was something to cure the hangover. Jon, you can't make such a cruel thing to a person who has such a nasty hangover. My head is about to split, Nurina complained. She was holding her head with a hand and drank the potion with another. When I offered the potion to the other person, I started to see her clearly. She was a Nord with some strong arms and thighs. Her hair was fire red, yet mine was a bit darker. She had the similar blue eyes as me. Damn, I thought I was unrivaled under heaven, yet there is someone who is as beautiful as me. The woman looked at me in panic, then she took the potion and looked away while drinking it in one go. I must admit, sleeping after drinking for 3 days in a row is an impressive feat on its own. I even had to wake you up with a horn. I made some joke to make them clear up. 3 days. The 2 women screamed in unison at what I said. Nah, I was joking. It was just a day, but it is afternoon already. I already achieved my purpose, so more than that is too much. Is he always like this? The red woman looked at Nurina and asked. Just don't let him take advantage of you. You will regret it if he started to give you a lecture. Nurina said it. Yep, I am that nasty. The 2 sighed and already started to sober. I'll go make them some coffee. Yes, you read it right. Coffee. Our Lord and Savior. Coffee is not popular in Skyrim, but it can be imported from different locations. Originally, there was no coffee in the lore of Skyrim, but it existed in the Elder Scrolls Online. It came to the world of Skyrim through a mod called Eli's Coffee Mod by Eleonora, one of Skyrim legendary modders. It was the right choice to install that mod. Well, I made some coffee for the women, and they thanked me for it. So Nurina has made a friend finally. I can leave this orphanage while being not worried in the future. Please treat her well. I turned into a mother mode and made fun out Nurina. Nurina was flustered in a blush, and the red woman laughed her lungs out. Stinking brat. You come back from oblivion and first thing you do is to wake up your old mother with a horn and make fun of me 2 times in a row? Nurina was huffing and puffing after she shouted at me. Well, that was fun. I haven't laughed like this in ages. My stomach hurts. The red woman was already in the ground after Nurina's retort. Indeed, it was funny. The other day, I must have worried everyone to death, and making a better mood is my responsibility. Fine, geez. Breakfast will be ready. Akira will bring a tray in a bit, I said while leaving. Wait, a voice called for me, and it was the red woman. Yes? I turned around. I am Hilda. The red woman introduced herself. I really like the name. I am Jon. Nice to meet ya. I made my signature 2-finger salute. Hey Jon, bring me that axe. Hilda asked me while pointing at a big axe resting on the wall. Damn woman. I wanted to retort. Isn't that a carved Nord axe and armor? This woman is the real deal. Is that some sort of test? I asked while not really want to embarrass myself. The woman was taken aback for a second. Yes, I'll teach you how to fight, so I want you to bring me that axe. Really? It wasn't me who questioned, but Nurina. Yeah, I've decided to stay in town for some time, and I want to do something worthwhile. We haven't seen each other in years, old friend. Right? Hilda said, while winking to Nurina. Nurina said, all right, and sipped in her coffee. I don't know what are you 2 planning, but first when you wink try to hide it, and second it won't go your way if you are planning to make a comeback at me. I made my statement. The axe, Hilda demanded. Well, if Nurina approved, she can teach me fighting, then I'm not going to argue. I go to the axe and grab it. This thing is not light at all. I find a good spot to grab on to make the weight more balanced. I squat then push my legs up to stand. I made it, but the weight was something else. This battle axe is classified as a 2-handed weapon, preferred by grunts, and it has a very high attack power in the right hands. Good, put it back. You passed. Hilda said after she saw what she wanted to see. I think it's about the balance thing. I will teach you for few days, but you have to train and find someone to point out your mistakes. I know you like magic. And fighting with a weapon might not be to your liking, but that's the Nord way. Get it? Hilda made a commander speech, but yeah, I am good. I was planning to learn how to fight properly anyway. Is there a place we can borrow? Hilda looked at Nurina and asked. Let Jon take you at the playing yard. No one should be there now, but don't make too much noise, and Jon close the door after you leave. Nurina was already going to make a check on the place, so she got going first. She looked at Hilda and said, and if you met with an old Hagraven called Grelid, don't kill her. Let Jon trash talk her to death. Then she left. Hilda was puzzled, but I said it's like that, and told her about the thing. Hilda was an interesting fellow. Just for me explaining she wanted to kill Grelid already, I am starting to like her. We headed to the yard. It was in front of the orphanage, and it also a part that appeared in-game. Good thing is it's a bit vaster in reality and has a high wall. Hilda asked me to bring an armor of my size and other training gear. I ran back to Balamund and borrowed the stuff. The lessons of Wulfur was going well and mine will start just now. Hilda tried the dull iron gear for a bit and nodded. She faced me and tell me to make a stance. Left leg at the front, right at the back, sword with both hands, and my head was guarded. That was something I remember from my past life, so I stood like that. Hilda looked and pointed my mistakes in the stance and told me how to move. Her way was flexible even though she wore heavy armor. I had a good lesson from afternoon till sunset. I was already beaten up black and blue. Sob how cruel. Next day was the same. Third day Hilda was really targeting my head. Hey, my handsome face can't afford a scar. The fourth day, I already became good at dodging. That day Nurina came and told us she asked someone she knows to train me after Hilda's departure. Fifth, sixth, and seventh day went well for me. I really liked Hilda. Her way in fighting was wild, precise, and fast. She also could use magic to some extent, which surprised me. It was Restoration School magic, yet I had to turn into the teacher and point out some of her shortcomings. She told me her husband insisted that she must learn it when she was pregnant with her child. I would actually do the same if I were him. Those who train on certain art get their bodies affected by it. Like for example, if you trained yourself on healing magic, you will tend to have a healthy body. That's why Nords only liked the Restoration School and they really respected healers. In the same time they hated any other magic. Following the same rule, training other arts made some effects on the users. Training fire magic will make you resist fire better and have endurance equivalent to the health attribute. Training frost magic will give you more stamina as ice affects stamina badly, so resisting ice is actually good for stamina. Same goes with lightning magic and magicka. Conjuring raises the strength of soul and gives more magicka to the users. Illusion grants a stronger mentality. And finally, alteration makes the body stronger. Training martial arts will make you monsterly powerful. That is the same as Earth, but I lately noticed something different. Warriors are ridiculously strong. Not just man-level strong, but Superman-level strong. They tend not to notice it in this world, but people trained in combat can carry big rocks so easily. Same goes for those who train the stealth arts. Their presence is weak and they are super fast. Some can reach the speed of beasts. That also explains my good magic control. I trained mysticism as the one true magic school, and made the other schools only aspects originated from it. My training on mysticism with my theories and discoveries made my magic capacity and control that of a high elf. I think if my theory went public it will cause a grand commotion and superpowers in this world will try to get hold of me. The MC will not be OP, rest assured. I also read that magic tends to make the people live longer. A magician dumbair can live more than 1,000 years. Which also means as long as the body is more trained and tempered by magic, it will live longer. Due to the magic element in this world, human races in Nirn live longer than humans in Earth. Even Nords who are magic haters live up to 150 years. All that was written in my note in my otherworldly native language. Today Hilda was leaving Rift Inn. She seemed to me that she has some dispute with some powerful, so she tends to lay low all time. I really had to see that amazing teacher off today, so I woke up early. I saw her walking after Nurina while being clad in a big cloak and a hood. Her axe was surely under her cloak. I went after them and wanted to say hello, but I heard them talking while it felt like they were sneaking. I hid my presence like I learned from my thief friends and eavesdropped on them. It wasn't really intentional, but I was a bit unsettled. I am sorry, Sister Nerina. I can't go and see him. I don't think I am strong enough for it. Hilda's voice was sad, yet she was trying to keep quiet. Seems like she was here for someone and didn't get to see them. Don't worry. Your son is my son, and he won't be harmed as long as I walk this Nern. Nerina's voice was warm and assuring as ever. But, wait, your son? My son? What's going on here? Give that to him when he wakes up. It's his father's. Our friends will send you the note they kept. You will know what to do with it. Hilda's voice firmed, and she exchanged farewells with Nerina. I saw her give her an amulet, but I didn't recognize it in the dark. I sneaked back to my room while thinking. How is that possible? Hilda's son is in the orphanage. Why is that? What is she so afraid to leave her son here? The ideas that popped into my head were crazy after crazy. I can't make heads and tails out of this. I have to see who will receive this amulet from Nerina. If Hilda's son is here, then I'll have to take care of him for her. She is my teacher after all. Yet for her to stay away from the children and keep watching from afar, this must be really hard for a mother's heart. I'll wait. I'll wait. I waited. Everyone is up. Nerina is organizing the kids for the breakfast. Here it is, the amulet. She takes it out. She is starting to walk. No, where is Hilda's son? Don't point that at me. I don't want to know. Don't say it. I can't even look up. Hey, Jon. Sorry about it, but before morning Hilda left early. She asked me to give you this. Nerina said in a soft voice. Please don't be the amulet. Please don't. I don't want to know, please. I have to look up and see, but I don't want. Hey, Jon. Don't be angry at Hilda. Listen, she really wanted you to see her off, but she was in a hurry and had to leave early. Nerina's voice was warm but hesitating. See, it's a blessed amulet. An amulet? Why? Why did it have to be like this? I looked up and saw it. It was indeed an amulet. An amulet blessed by Talos at that. The amulet of Talos, that was the name of it. So that's how it was. I get it now. No, I am not angry. I took the amulet while saying. It was a bit different than the others. I felt more power coming from it. It wasn't an ordinary amulet. But I don't really care. I noticed Hilda's hair. I also noticed her eyes. But why was it like this? I didn't want to believe it. Wasn't this just a mod? Why is it like this? I have a relative. I have a mother. I look at the amulet again. Damn it. This is not really what I thought it would be like. What is going on with this world? Chapter 11. One School Theory. It has been 3 years since I started learning magic. Nerina was always supervising me like I am some sort of a kid. I am a kid though. This year is 4 times 10 to the power of negative 191, 10 years before the start of the game events. I am not sure if I am the hero of the game or not. I don't have a skill system, neither I can use the hero's power. Still, I would rather have a quiet long life. But if I am not the hero, then I should hurry up and gather the good stuff before she collects them. Artifacts and rare treasures are out there in dungeons and ruins. Still, I lack the strength to survive. I am 10 years old, which means I have only 5 years left in the orphanage. I need to make sure Nerina is alright and keep her safe from that hag-related harm. Nerina is a mage and a strong one at that, but Nords hate magic and they are racist, so if anything happened to her I will lash out at those people hard. These days I could find my way to the market square without anyone noticing. I sometimes accompany and Vex in their runs around the city. These two are from the NPCs in-game. They belong to the Thief Guild and they are older than me. I learned how to pickpocket and unlock easy locks from them. I also learned how to sneak too. I should say it just to be honest that these skills are much complicated than the game. Pickpocketing in-game is to sneak behind a target and use action key unseen. But in real life, I have to take care of what I am about to steal. The target must be moving and not slowly. There has to be some crowd to cover, and the target has to be a bit careless. Once the conditions met, it would be easy. I've once seen Vex cut someone's pocket from outside and took the money purse with no one even feeling her actions. How scary. Be glad they are the Thieves Guild and not the Dark Brotherhood. Picking locks is a pain. You need a thin blade to act as a base and some lockpicks. Lockpicks are bigger than needles with a hawk-like end. The point is to make both the picks and the thin blade that act as an all-door key, and watch for the picks because they break, or that's what it should be like in game. In real life, it's another sort of pain. Picks don't break that easily. Atop of that, it seems like everyone has a different way to open a lock. Vex uses 2 picks at a time, and Brynjolf only uses 1. The problem doesn't end with just the lock quality and the pick's vulnerability. Unlike the game, you can get caught, and if your hands slip while unlocking, a sound comes from the pick that might attract attention to you. I remember I added a mod called Life Takes Time, or something that makes every time pausing actions like picking a lock or reading a book in game to actually go along with time. Sneaking is another story. It doesn't just work like the game where you press, control, and you become a ghost. Brynjolf told me that first I need to be in control of my body, from the inside to the outside. To sneak, one needs to breathe slowly to let his heart beat not to be heard. Also, not putting too much power in muscles other than the ones needed is fundamental in sneaking. One also needs to blend with the surroundings and know every in and out of where he is. In day, walk among people, in night, walk with the shadow. I really like this part about sneaking. It's known that thinning one's own presence and reading the surroundings are most fundamental skills for hunters and dungeon raiders. As someone whose aim is to be an adventurer, I need lots of skills and knowledge. After asking Brynjolf and Vex how to be better at it, they told me to live daily as a thief. Every step must be calm and quiet. Everything must be noticed and analyzed. Damn, being a thief is cool. Where do I sign up? Alright, in few years, Big Bro Brynjolf will handle the recruiting, and there are requirements I haven't met yet. Big Sis Vex is as beautiful as ever with her silver hair and sharp features, especially when she tries to act dangerous. She is the most skilled junior in the guild after all. Once the hero of the game joins the guild, she would already become a master and a quest giver at that. Following the master trainers from young age is sure a good thing. I mean, I don't need to buy hard-earned gold for training. Money in this world and the world of game are totally different too. I mean, in game you use only gold coins. These coins are called septims, and they are named after the emperor who founded the last empire in Cyrodiil, Tiber Septim. Septims in the game are mainly gold, but that didn't stop mods and modders for creating some coin overhaul mods like Immersive Currency or Coins of Tamriel. The one I installed was Coins of Tamriel despite its terrible naming sense, but that didn't affect the world that much. Anyway, in this world there are gold, coin, and copper coins. They are the Empire's official coin system. And when you go into a pre-Third Era dungeon in game, why do you find septims in the treasures, you ask? No hay problema, mi amigo. In reality, you get to find old coins from the ancient civilizations such as Nordic and Dwemer. And the Jarls exchange these coins from adventurers for a very satisfying ratio. Thinking about that, I've already arrived at the orphanage, only to find Wulfur waiting for me at the entrance. What's up? I spoke nonchalantly. You are late. Grelid will have you head, Wulfur said. I would like to see her try. I couldn't hold back my grin. Normally that hag would nag at me whenever the chance arises, but cornering someone who was a lawyer in his past life with just words is a bit overestimating oneself. Walking past the entrance room up to the second floor, Grelid is waiting for me, as far as she could from Nerina's room. I knew she could hold it no more as her eyes were blazing with fury. The hell were you been, you little swine? It's already past the curfew time? Grelid was spouting hatred with every word she could utter. Energetic as ever, old witch, the mocking me said inwardly. I was practicing magic. I knew this answer will turn her anger on. And now she is teaching the brats witchcraft, Grelid said in with a wicked smile. There is a wicked witch in this orphanage. Everyone knows that. I said it with no care in the world. Grelid's eyes were already turning red with anger, and I added more oil to the flame. Damn it, my old habit kicked in again. I am as stubborn as Grelid herself, and I am a troublemaker of my own league, so I don't hold back with that hag. You dare mock me, you pig? Do you think that dark elf will prot? Grelid was already at her peak. First of all, her name is Nerina, and you are to call her headmistress. And I do dare. Dare is my surname. I spoke sharply, meeting her eye to eye. You want some? Come get some. Before I could say anything more, we could hear Nerina's voice, coming from her room. Jon, apologize. You see who is boss here? I grin while saying sorry as soon as Nerina's words ended. One must be that shameless to make a statement. My room. Nerina's voice sounded again. That was my holy summon. Can't make the goddess wait. I walked past Grelid while making a got my eyes on you sign with 2 fingers. I couldn't help myself. After all the kids were looking at me with eyes full of admiration, a cute Khajiit girl was waving her tail left and right as she witnessed the exchange of the powerhouses in this orphanage. That was Akira from our wing. She was sent to Grelid's wing when she came a year ago, and Grelid treated her like how Nords normally treats non-Nords. Nerina stepped in and put an end to it. Now she is at our wing. The poor thing was so broken when she came. Apparently her parents were from one of the Khajiit trading caravans, and they got attacked by bandits between Rift Inn and Shore's Stone. The guards found her a week after the attack, and she was in a bad shape. For Grelid to be mean to such a girl is the far-reaching end of cruelty. For a cat person such as me, Khajiit folk are so wondrous. Akira on top of all Khajiit was so beautiful to my eyes. She had gray fur and black lines like that of a tiger, but her head was of a little kitten. Her dark gray hair was braided in cornrows, and her eyes were radiant green. Just shoot me dead already. I am barely resisting every urge to kidnap that girl and pat her somewhere desolate, resisting my inner cat lover urges. I am already entering Nerina's room with a victor walk. Nerina was holding a letter and reading it in a bad mood. I couldn't help but wonder what would make Nerina in a bad mood. One must say that as a mare elf, these guys are long livers, so annoying them must take some effort. This is a letter from my cousin Savos. He's screwed up again, she said with annoyance on her face. Savos Arin? The Archmage of Winterhold? My amazement couldn't help but leak out. How do you know of him? Nerina asked with a questioning look. Isn't the Archmage supposed to be a famous? I acted with no effort. He only became an Archmage a week ago. Nerina kept cornering me. Ops. What a blunder. Now let's make up something. I walked to the chair opposite to hers and finally had an idea. I saw a human mage with some college robes at the inn. He was so drunk and was talking ill of the new appointed Archmage Savos Arin, and he said that he won't work under some Adumare conjurer. Sounded like a Nord to me. Perfect covering up, even if I say so myself. Nerina's expressions looked like she didn't even care at all and burned the paper on a plate with fire-controlling spell. You won't help him? I wondered. His mess is his own doing. Nord mages abandoning the college is only because he perused that meaningless position for so long and they don't like it, Nerina said. Forget about that. I didn't even know your surname was Arin, like the famous Dunmare conjurers. I seem to have hit the nail on its head as Nerina noticed where she slipped out such information. Asterisk sigh asterisk, I cut all ties with these thick-skull fools, Nerina said with. A beautiful dark elf mage, specialized in conjuration school, doesn't work in the college and says that other conjurers are thick-skull only means one thing. I paused for a bit while looking at Nerina's eyes that started to shake. You are a necromancer? I dropped a bomb indeed. It was my first time causing Nerina to be taken aback, and I must hold on to such achievement. Nerina was having an urge to beat me up, I am sure of it. Sometimes I regret teaching you anything, you rascal. Nerina paused for a second and said, What do you think? Necromancy is just another tool. You can be an evil mage using even restoration magic, I said like it was natural. People think of necromancy as evil, yet they just look at the undead as evil without realizing it is just magic. Even the large magic powerhouse declare that, not because they're ignorance but just to keep their public image. I know, right? Nerina was in bafflement to my understanding. I am not just a 10 years old, you know. My total age now is 35 years, you know. My research was not on necromancy itself. I was aiming to understand how to conjure the undead. Nerina turned to teacher mood. Thank goodness I downloaded Realistic Eyeglasses mod. It added so much of sensei air to Nerina. As you know, when we conjure something, we conjure it from a realm called Oblivion. It is the realm where many dark creatures reside and also where the Daedric lords who are considered evil gods also reside. By conjuring Daedric creatures, we are known as conjurers, but Daedric creatures have many flows. Look at the Atronax, for example. They are elemental being that lack diversity as their attacks is mainly focused their respective element. Some figures recorded their adventures out of Nirn as they traveled to Oblivion. They recorded the appearance of undead creatures in their journeys, which means as conjurers can summon undead, who are easier to bound and control and have more diversity in attacks. She gave a long lesson filled with passion, and her crimson eyes were giving off light. And I chose Skyrim as one of the places that is filled with old tombs that has many sorts of undead to study. Of course, along with my work on conjuring, Nurina made a dramatic ending to her speech. So why are you living in an orphanage? I asked the question that was on my head for some time. Haven't I told you? Normally people wouldn't think that a dumbair necromancer would live in an orphanage as a headmistress. I am also good with children. She answered while laughing. Damn, she has a disorder in priorities as usual of her. Anyway, have you succeeded in your research? I asked while trying not to reason with her. Yes, last year I finished my original spell to conjure some undead. As she answered that she checked outside the room, then she came back and stood in the middle of the room. I stand on and focus on what she was doing. She is clearly going to show her result. She moved her left hand and performed the spell. It caused the void to emerge in the room, and from it, a figure appeared. Once the void disappeared, a black skeleton stood with a bow in its hand, and its eyes glowed blue. That was a skeleton archer with passing marks, but why is it black? The skeleton came from a Daedric realm, so it should be different. Clearly it belongs to a being called Dremora. Dremoras are beings with human appearance but are all black. They are alive, but they are Daedra, so they are as mean and wicked as their lords. And they are hard to bound as their wills are much stronger. So unless you worship a Daedric lord, they won't obey you, and you will end up being their target. Undead of Oblivion, on the other hand, are as strong as Dremora and as easy to bound their wills as the Atranax. Nurina boasted about the undead she can summon. In the future, the hero of the game will enter a realm of oblivion called the Soul Cairn, and she can collect 3 spells to conjure the same sort of undead. Amazing! Nurina could recreate such a rare spell without even visiting that Soul Cairn. Can I take a look at the tome? I asked. Without even answering, she handed it to me. Was it ready here? I looked at her notes in the tome and discovered something strange. These effects are rather familiar. Seeing my frowning, Nurina giggled. So, have you noticed? She asked. Of course, I noticed. I noticed my theory being applied in this spell. This thing I call theory is my understanding of magic. I read many books about the schools of magic, and I summarized what I understood and edited some parts that were unrealistic to me. Something like necromancy is conjuration school is hoax. It clearly belonged to mysticism. That was my opinion. Also, the effect of bound when it comes to the target soul is clearly my theory. Not that I am the only one to come up with it, but these are stuff I know because I once read the wiki in my past life. There are also stuff I made as my original opinion, such as, the mysticism school is the original school of magic and other schools serve it as effects. Understanding all mysticism effect is a must for anyone to become a full-flagged mage. This is a slap on the face to every mage in existence, but it sounded natural to me. Mysticism is about the full manipulation of the force that originated from sun and stars known as magic. I mean, you can't practice marksmanship to its most skillful form unless you know how to handle bow as a second nature. In olden days in Hammerfell, warriors of the way of the sword known as sword dancers reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship by starting their training in forging weapons and living their lives in a way that resembles the sword. So manipulating magic must be done this way in my opinion. You can't live to resemble magic power, but you can train every effect in magic as a raw power without associating it to a certain school. I made a note on this subject, and Nurina copied it for herself. She said it's worth researching. And now it has been applied in a spell. I see many effects from many schools, bound from illusion, call from mysticism, and force from alteration. I get it. Such a splendid undead can only be conjured by using many effects, I muttered. Exactly. If you used your theory of one school and combined many magical effects in existing spells, you can upgrade them and be a genius mage in many schools, Nurina declared. I handed her the book and made a big sigh. So I made something that absurd? I am not sure this is a good thing or a bad thing, though. I said, trying to think of how many trouble may this cause me. Of course it's good as long as you keep it a secret. Mages are secretive by nature, and they respect other secrets so others respect theirs. It's a mutual understanding in the mage community, she said to me while sitting back on her chair. Fine. Is there anything else? I asked while leaving. Before I forget, stop looking at Akira in such creepy way or I will hand you your ass, she said while opening a book. What a scary woman. Chapter 12. I can make my own system. This chapter was a try to make a system. That day I took that amulet, and I never told Narina that I overheard hers and Hilda's conversation. I am not just a small kid who will be angry over such a thing. Hilda had a very good reason to abandon me, even if I don't know what is it. I understood from what she said to Narina, and I already have guessed most of the matter. Hilda has never returned since that day, and it has been 5 years already. 4 times 10 to the power of negative 196. I am already 15. My mental age compared to my physical age are leagues apart. Yet it seemed that there is a part of me that wants to go as wild as teenagers go. But composed must I be, thus I can attain the power I need. Frankly speaking, since the day of Hilda's departure, I swore to crush whatever made her too scared to keep her own son. I'll avenge her so hard and pour of my hate and anger on the culprit of her sadness. She gave me a special amulet of Talos which was more powerful than the ordinary ones. 2.5 times, I guess. From that amulet, I could understand that my birth mother and father are Talos worshippers, which means the biggest possibility lies in the Thalmor as the enemy. If it's the Thalmor, then they have made the wrong enemy this time. An amulet that's strong means it had been passed through generations of worshippers. It also means that this is one of the first amulets made to worship Talos. The normal amulet of Talos has a very unique blessing. Most blessing can be replicated as enchantments, but this one is impossible. It decreases the cooldown for the power of the Thumb Im, the voice of the dragons. The most Nordic honorable technique of using magic, the cooldown decreases nearly to 50% of its original duration. Normal amulets, which are also rare, can do it up to 20%. This amulet must have a grand history. I'm not faithful to the gods, but I believe in freedom of worship as long as it's not a harmful being like the evil kinds of Daedra. Yet I won't disgrace all those who carried that amulet before me. I swear on that. Even if I am not the hero of the game, I will be the strongest. My training advanced smoothly since that day. I decided to walk on the path of my desire. I'll be a righteous person when righteousness is needed, and I'll be the devil himself if his methods are needed. Star. Today was a peaceful day, as well as one of my last few days in the orphanage. I never thought I would actually come to miss this place, but all the memories here are important to me. My training with the new trainer involved hunting in the woods and fighting with all kinds of weapons. Thank goodness that this wasn't the game. Or else I would have been only bound to use a certain type of weapons due to perks limitation. In real life, these perks can be gained only thanks to talent and training. Dual casting perk in the game is gained by focusing on syncing the output of the magicka from 2 hands at the same time. I luckily never lacked talent at magicka, which made my life easier. My teacher is a veteran who works as a hunter. He is quite old, but his instincts are the best. With my current progress, I could stand my ground against him. There are many arenas and fighting pits around Skyrim, as well as horse racing tracks and gambling houses, as well as red light houses. Those things are not involved with any mod I installed before. Well, let's face it, the world is huge and Rift in here is hundreds of times larger than in the game. Normally I participated in the fights many times and made a name for myself as the greenhorn with a long streak of winning. The reason is, I am young, so others don't challenge me, but I am the one who issues challenges, and I won a fair amount before someone was able to put me to the ground. I am not invincible or anything, but I know how to fight. I was well trained with swords, axes, maces, and hammers. I was also trained with spears and bows. Fistfight has its own thrill, and I always used mixed martial arts techniques, so I was a bit nasty to fight. Known as Jon Dare in the city, I was already famous enough to be invited to join many companies and wealthy people. I even got a few adopting requests which I already turned down with the excuse of me wanting to join the companions. I still has a long way to go as a warrior though. As a thief, I was already invited to the Ratway and raided a few times with the thieves. And my training in magic was as smooth as it could get. I was already planning to break through to the rank of an adept level at most schools. Since the time I was reincarnated, I was dissatisfied by not having the game system. Still, who needs such a thing? Being like this is much better. I am not bound with any styles. Even though I had to keep a memo to record all the spells and the powers I learned. Equipments. Amulet of Talos, thumb cooldown -50%. Gold ring from Narina, Magicka Regan, 150%. Reinforced boots, increased stamina 10%. Reinforced gloves, Magicka consumption down 10%. Belt, increase Magicka 10%. Spells. Hashtag mysticism. Control Magicka. Absorb, drain, dispel. Detect, magic, object. Ward, quadrant. Divination, alarm. Necromancy, bones. Soul, trap. Hashtag destruction. Channeling, flames, sparks. Bolt, fire, lightning. Rune, lightning. Hashtag conjuration. Bound, dagger, sword, battle axe. Conjure familiar, mouse, cat, falcon, wolf. Conjure undead, ghost, bone man. Conjure Atronak, flame. Hashtag illusion. Mind, calm, fear. Light, candlelight, mage light. Hashtag restoration. Heal, healing, necro healing, cure disease. Anti-undead, turn sunlight. Hashtag alteration. Speed, hasten linger. Protection, stone skin. Psychokinesis, open and lock. Weight, burden, lighten, featherfall. Hashtag power. Warcry, hide in shadows. Shadow stone buff sneak. Blur, shadow stone buff speed. Star, hee. I can make my own system. Seriously speaking, this just a reminder of my progress. In my equipment section, I mentioned the amulet and a ring gifted to me some time ago by Narina. The boots, gloves, and belt are the joint work of Wolfer's handicraft and my enchanting. We made 2 sets and I enchanted them in a proper way to suit him. In the spell section, every spell was listed with its school. Mysticism, which has few spells as no one really did well in mysticism the past few years, and it was akin to a secret art, so most spells were my original spells. Quadrant Ward is my masterpiece. It is a mix of 4 effects. Absorb, reflect, resist, and dispel. Normal ward spell normally relay on resist, and some can do it with absorb, but I am proud to say I made a much better job. And that's all to it. I made it in a red journal, and felt so much proud about it. Back to the present. The city was in a festive mood. Why is that, you ask? High King Torrig was visiting the Temple of Mara with his wife Lady Immersive the Fair. Normally, for every High King, their weddings should be in the City of Solitude as their stronghold as kings. But the young king insisted to visit the Temple of Mara, as the traditions of Nord say, after performing the main wedding ceremony in the Temple of Gods in Solitude. I led my gang to join the crowd, and Narina tagged with some other kids from the orphanage. The city was heavily guarded as the King's Guard were here since 2 days ago. We found a spot near the temple and waited to watch the parade. I wasn't interested in it at all, but the girls were dying to see the new High Queen. It was rumored that Lady Immersive is young at the age of 17 and can be considered the most beautiful woman in Skyrim. In my opinion, she's not even as cute or fluffy as Akira. The cheers were getting nearer, and the people were carrying baskets full of petals to throw it at the parade. What a careless act. I can hide a throwing blade in the petals, and no one will see it coming. Anyway, the king is popular among the people these days, only for now though. Jarl Lela and Maven Blackbriar, as well as the other big players in Riften such as Bali the fishery owner and Vulwolf Snowshot of the Snowshot clan. All these big names in Riften lined up for the High King. And just as the front guards of the parade arrived, there was a man on a horse following behind them, circled by 2 armored knights like warriors, and he was waving to the people and smiling like a fool. Good grief. He had medium black hair and a short beard. He is a good-looking person. He also wore a full plate armor with no helmet and wore a fancy crimson robe on it. That was the High King of Skyrim, High King Torrig. What followed after him was a gorgeous carriage and a girl riding in it. That was clearly the new queen. She was a beautiful woman as rumored. Blonde with innocent features and faint smile. Her eyes were green as emerald and wide as gazelles, and her skin was white and fine. What a refined woman. I totally forgot I added a mod to change Immersive's appearance long ago. Immersive in the game was not even as beautiful as Isolde yet was called the fair. In my opinion, I had to make things right else it would ruin my immersion. The royal lot went into the temple and made the rituals they wasted everyone's important time for. I mean, look at it. The city was totally in a tizzy since yesterday, and I couldn't do my business with my contacts in the guild. And finally, they got out and headed to Mistvale Keep. I urged everyone back home because I hate this sort of festivals and stuff. I wasn't like that in the past, though. I just became a workaholic 5 years ago, and Nurina started complaining about it lately. I will leave the orphanage in the first month of the next year and travel through Whiterun to Solitude with the Wolfer and the others. Isolde and Akira will live together in Whiterun, while Wolfer and Sviti will go to Solitude. I will go there to participate in a yearly tournament that happens for the honor of the High King and all that worthless stuff. I am interested only in competition, though. After the competition, I will leave to Winterhold to join the College of Winterhold. To my surprise, Nurina informed me that Hilda will meet with us in the college a year from now when I reach 16. The reason is, she wanted me to participate in a coming-of-age ceremony that used to be held by the ancient Nords and some hardcore clans at the present. She also told me that I will participate with Hilda's clan. After the ceremony, I get to have a war paint or whatever they get from Hilda's clan too. I get it now. They are planning to tell me the truth about my birth parents a year from now. That's more of a reason for me to why I should not fail Hilda in the ceremony. These ceremonies, if I remember correctly, is for the young Nords to head to the lands which have heavy snow and fight with a monster called Ice Wraith. These Ice Wraiths are lucid, serpentine creatures of magic, as if conjured from the frozen tundra and glaciers of Skyrim itself. I am having trouble describing the damn thing. Google it yourself. All in all, I have to kill one a year from now. I am not that sure if I relied entirely on martial arts, but it seems that this is the rule. My weapon is something I had to pay Wolfer and Balamund a good price to make for me. It's a warhammer as heavy as Hilda's battle axe. Mine was made from steel, but it has its custom design. I requested it to be made with some certain runes engraved on it. Nurina offered to enchant it with a greater soul gem I acquired with a lot of money. The hammer was like any other. Its handle was made of the best wood possible to buy, reinforced with steel and it was a real beauty. The head had a blunt side and a spike like the game's steel warhammer. After it was done, Nurina and I went into an argument about how to enchant it. I wanted it to be enchanted with lightning blast effect, but Nurina had a different opinion. She wanted to enchant it with sunlight effect. It's an effect that can harm living to a fair degree with fire damage effect and harm undead to a fatal degree. My idea of lighting blast hammer was a bit from a movie, so it was childish and Nurina didn't like it. Her idea was better anyway. Lightning works better against mages, and mages didn't need to be dealt with by such a flashy and big weapon as a hammer. A hammer was a tool to crush the armor, and it was best used against big opponents like trolls and armored opponents as well. After the hammer was enchanted, I couldn't help but grin. It was a good weapon indeed, but we left it unnamed for now. After a few months of training, year 4 times 10 to the power of negative 196 has passed, and it already became Morning Star, January, of 4 times 10 to the power of negative 197. I and Wolfer were making travel preparation and also made a deal with a carriage owner outside the city. We will be leaving Rift Inn tomorrow. Nurina's things were packed in crates and transported by a carriage to Winterhold. She left before us. That day I said my farewells for all my friends in the city, the Ratway, the Fighting Pits, and the orphanage. What really was upsetting that Grelid became the new headmistress. An era of terror would descend upon Honor Hall Orphanage. I took all my stuff in 2 knapsacks, and so was everyone else. My hammer was on my back. Wolfer was carrying his large shield on his back, as well as an axe on his side. Sviti and Isolde were carrying their knapsacks and followed along with Akira, who carried 2 swords. She started training with dual swords, but she was still a beginner. This is my first time to leave Rift Inn. I didn't care much about it too much. But the other guys were really in mixed emotions. The road from Rift Inn to Whiterun takes 2 weeks. Our first stop will be Shore's Stone. The second stop will be Darkwater Crossing. There, we will be officially outside the Rift Hold and into Eastmarch Hold. The third stop will be Valthium Towers, which is a military area but serves as a short rest for travelers. Right after passing Valthium Towers, we will be at Whiterun Hold and heading to our first destination, Whiterun City. While jumping on the carriage, some of the people came to see us off, Balamund and Brynjolf as well as others. Well, this is my first adventure, so I better make it exciting. It's also the end of Volume 1. Volume 2 will start tomorrow after I get some mental refreshment. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.